Yo legends! Welcome to Fanfiction Legend. Grab your headphones because today's story is about to hit different. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Dragon Ball, Chapter No.18 at the start. Page 81. Then, Ash walked towards Bardos without looking back. Caulifla clenched her fists. What did she mean by too weak? How do you know if you haven't played yet? Just as she was about to explode, a terrifying aura rose into the sky. It's Kyre. Kyre's muscles swelled, his aura soared, and a terrifying green aura rose from his body. The rich breath spread in all directions, extremely powerful. At this moment, her pupils were white, her face was ferocious, and her hair was faintly yellow-green. Kyre looked furious. How dare you talk to your sister like that? Go to hell. Boom! Her figure shot out and rushed straight towards Ash. The earth suddenly cracked. Caulifla exclaimed, "Kale." Xianpa's face darkened and he was about to take action. But I saw that a colorful energy had already condensed in Ash's hand. Soul Judge. Ash said calmly, "You like losing control, don't you? Call out." Ash threw the energy in her hand out at an extremely fast speed, hitting Kale hard. Boom! Exclamation! In an instant, a huge roar resounded through the sky like thunder piercing the ears. Puffs of smoke filled the sky. Kyre. Caulifla ran up in panic, while Gabe stood there, his whole body soaked with sweat. Gulu terrible. I told you not to mess with him. Gabe looked horrified. When the smoke cleared, Kyre was reduced to his original form, his hair singed, his breath barely alive, as if frozen. He was killed in one move. Caulifla called out to Kale anxiously, hoping for a response. But Kyre was as still as if dead. P.S. There will be more later. Chapter 65. King Sarada. Subscribe. Faced with this situation, even Caulifla realized the seriousness of the matter. She looked at Ash, her expression anxious. Ash, I'm so sorry, Kale might be a little grumpy, I hope you don't mind. Gabe also quickly agreed. Yes, she didn't mean any harm. Ash said calmly, she won't die, she'll just have to lie down for a few weeks. Hearing the words, the two of them breathed a sigh of relief. He apologized quickly. Xianpa looked unhappy. He had finally gotten Ash over here. The good thing was almost ruined because of these people. Tilda. He just wanted to take action, but fortunately, Ash was not angry. Let's go. Ash looked away. He was not very interested in these Saiyans, so he decided to leave it to Sun Wukong and the others to deal with them then. Ash walked up to Bardos and shook his hand directly. A set of combos that are incredibly smooth. Flowing clouds and flowing water. Bardos was stunned and didn't react. Ash explained, I see Beerus has to touch Wise before he can move. Is that not okay? Bardos narrowed his eyes, stared at Ash for a moment, and smiled, of course. Xianpa's face was filled with shock. How dare you? He was shocked that Ash was so bold as to touch Bardos directly. At the same time, I was also surprised. Why didn't Bardos feel disgusted? After hearing Ash's explanation, he couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Can Weiss and Bardos be the same? Bardos can tie people up and walk away. Can Weiss do that? Do not know. But at least he hadn't seen it. Normally, isn't it Beerus who holds Wise's back and he is tied up by Bardos and walked? Ash asked, aren't you leaving? Though. Xianpa came to his senses and hurried forward to Ashley's side. Call out. The three of them turned into a colorful light and suddenly disappeared from the spot in situ. Watching the three people leaving, neither Caulifla nor Gabe said anything. The air seemed to be still a long time. Caulifla clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. I will definitely become stronger. Ash, I will definitely defeat you. Gabe didn't say anything. He knew that Caulifla was in a bad mood at the moment, so he didn't say anything sarcastic. To be frank, he didn't think Caulifla could defeat Ash. This isn't just a slight difference, it's a world of difference. Let's not talk about the fact that the other party could make someone like Xianpa bow down to him. Let's just talk about Kyr just now. Who can beat him or Caulifla? At that moment he was completely stunned. What the hell is that? Transform? He had never seen it before. Gabe's eyes narrowed. Perhaps King Sarada knew? Yes, no one on this planet could measure up to King Sarada. He was an unrivaled man. The Saiyans of the sixth universe are able to stand firm because of him. Well, go ask King Sarada, maybe he'll know. Gabe thought. After all, it was because of King Sarada that he was able to meet Lord Champa. It was King Sarada who introduced him to Lord Champa. The reason is because he is smart, capable, hardworking, and persevering at the same time. Inside a huge, magnificent, solemn, and grand palace. On the throne, a middle-aged man slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were deep and his face expressionless. After a long while, he slowly said, "What a familiar breath." He slowly looked ahead and said, "Maybe I should go out for a walk." Destroyer. The three of them slowly landed on a flat ground. Ash looked around and was slightly surprised. Champa's home was very different from Beerus' home. It could be said that they were completely different. Beerus' style looks majestic and solemn, but Champa is different. The whole screen is filled with luxury and wealth. A castle made of crystals, decorated with countless dazzling gems. The endless castle is so big that you can't imagine. The corners of Ash's mouth twitched slightly. Very good, it was in line with Xianpa's character. It fully demonstrates his arrogant and particular character, which is enough to highlight how noble the owner of the castle is. Is this the value of the god of destruction? I wonder if the real estate tycoon who has worked hard all his life would collapse after seeing this scene. Xianpa's face was filled with pride. Ha ha ha, what do you think? This is my home. It's as grand as Beerus, right? Ash nodded. It's indeed quite impressive. Afterwards, the few of them chatted for a while. Only then did we start to talk about business. Page 82. Xianpa looked at Ash, hesitated for a moment and said, "Ash, to be honest, there's nothing I can teach you. When I saw you fighting that Saiyan named Reg, I thought about bringing Beerus's people over." Xianpa tells the truth. He took a fancy to Ash and tried to win her over. It was purely to disgust Beerus. Now that Ash is here, he really doesn't know what to do for a moment. Ash nodded. "I know." Xianpa was stunned. "Then why did you follow me?" Ash smiled and looked at Bardos. "If you can't teach me, can Bardos teach me?" Xianpa's face darkened. "So you had no intention of learning from me from the beginning, but instead set your sights on Bardos?" Bardos chuckled. "Master Xianpa, I've long told you that you might not be able to defeat Ash. Why do you still harbor the fantasy of becoming someone else's master?" Xianpa's face turned pale, and he looked at Bardos with gritted teeth. "You tell me." Bardos looked at Ash, her eyebrows raised slightly. "Ash, although you are strong, talented, and handsome, however, I will not accept an apprentice for no reason. What Champa-sama meant is not what I meant." Xianpa's face darkened. "Why? Why is he, a god of destruction, so embarrassed? Look at other angels, they all treat their own god of destruction with the utmost respect. When it comes to him, it is completely different." Ash smiled. "Indeed, no one would be kind enough to accept someone as a disciple just because the other party has superior conditions. Everyone does things based on their own perspective. Only when the effort is proportional to the reward will people accept you as their disciple. That's why he bought some food in advance." Ash smiled and said, "Of course I know so. I prepared a bunch of delicious food." The two were stunned. "Delicious food?" "Correct." Ash nodded, pulled out a universal capsule from his pocket, and pressed it lightly. Then, a box of neatly arranged, well-labeled universal capsules came into view. A universal capsule inside a universal capsule. The two of them came forward. A hodgepodge of Western capital delicacies. "And this is Eastern capital's legendary dragon meat banquet. And this Northern capital's 10-meter-long giant insect. Southern capital's giant centipede hell. Steamed bun mountain. What are these?" The two were puzzled. Ash smiled and said, how about you pick one of these delicious dishes and use it as my tuition? The two hesitated. Bardos stretched out a slender finger and said dissatisfiedly, just this one meal. Ash smiled and said, of course not only that, as long as I become stronger, you won't lack food. Cyanpa's eyes lit up, is this true? Request flowers, can you guarantee it's delicious? Ash nodded. 80% of it is delicious. Absolutely delicious. But there are also 2% that might be exotic food, but they are delicious too. They just don't look good. It depends on whether you can accept it. 8% delicious. 2% curiosity. Cyanpa thought about it. How curious could it be? Is there any normal food he has tasted over the years? So, Cyanpa nodded and said, deal. Ash looked at Bardos. Bardos said nothing, but nodded slightly, with anticipation in her beautiful eyes. Ash smiled and said, pick one. Cyanpa hesitated and said, can't we have them all? Ash's face darkened. Can you finish it? Can. Bullshit. One by one. Ash snorted coldly. Ash looked at Bardos and said, since you don't want to choose, Bardos will choose. Cyanpa. Cyanpa looked at Bardos nervously, don't choose something unpalatable. Bardos gently touched her red lips with her index finger, and looked back and forth at the universal capsule a long time. Bardos pointed to a universal capsule and said, this is it. 30. The two of them came closer to take a look. Bayesian special food. Ash raised an eyebrow, so lucky. He was hoping that the two of them would draw something interesting. Ash took out the universal capsule and pressed it lightly. Pew. Then, next moment, a round table appeared, filled with a variety of food, and it looked great. The aroma is so nice. Cyampa's eyes lit up. He rushed out and took a deep breath towards the plate of food on the table. Smells so good. Bardos' eyes lit up and he couldn't help but walk over. Wow, so rich? Ash smiled and said, of course. Then, they both took a bite and immediately showed an expression of enjoyment on their faces. Tasty. After a while the food on the table was quickly eaten up. Cyampa touched his bulging belly and burped loudly. It's delicious. I have never eaten anything so delicious. Bardos took it out and wiped his lips gently, then looked at Ash with a smile. I promise you. The corners of Ash's mouth rose slightly. The following week, Ash spends every day under the guidance of Bardos. It must be said that although he didn't become stronger by doing this, he still benefited a lot from it. Bardos is really good at teaching. This day, Baduaduo looked at Ash with surprise. Ash, you're such a freak. From the first day, she added tens of thousands of times the gravity bracelet to Ash, and before the second day, Ash had already adapted. The same thing happened in the days that followed. As long as she increases the gravity, Ash can adapt quickly. She felt a little numb. Ash smiled and said, well, it's not a bad idea for you to take me as your apprentice, right? Bardos nodded slightly. Not bad. It's really worth it. Make big. Bardos gently pulled Ash into a corner and asked, have you ever thought about becoming a god of destruction? Ash was stunned and looked at Bardos in surprise. What do you mean? Bardos smiled and said, you don't have to think too much. If you have any ideas, I can teach you. Ash raised an eyebrow. You want to be my angel? Bardos was stunned. Why do you say that? Didn't you ask me if I wanted to be the god of destruction? Doesn't that mean you want to remove Champa from power? P.S. Please give me some money. Guang. Chapter 66. Cyampa vs. Ash. The first appearance of the Ultra Flash combo. Subscribed. Bardos was speechless. How could she think so? However, after hearing what Ashley said, she really started to think about it. Indeed. There is a world of difference between Cyampa and Ash. However, Cyampa is useless because of this one reason. That's a bit heartless. Bardos thought for a moment and said, what I mean is, it depends on whether you want to become a god of destruction. If you do, I can teach you the power of destruction and then become a candidate god of destruction, and then slowly become a god of destruction. After all, becoming a god of destruction doesn't happen in a day, it takes time and effort. Page 83. As for the angel, do you want me to be your angel? Ash thought for a moment and said, do you want to be my angel? Bardos, seeing that the other party threw Wenshin to him again. Bardos rolled his eyes and raised his hand to gently tap Ash's head. If you want to, then you want to. If you don't want to, then you don't want to. Just say it. Ash smiled and said, I guess so. Bardos nodded, and after a moment's silence he said, then you have to take it slow. You must first cultivate the power of destruction and then go to the Omni-King's palace to obtain the priesthood. Then you can choose your own angel. Ash asked, I became the god of destruction. What about the previous one? The previous one will be fine. His destructive power and strength are still there. He just lost his priesthood. It's actually insignificant, Bardos said softly. Ash nodded, which made her understand 103. In that case, I'm sorry. Brother Xianpa. However, he doesn't want to become the god of destruction yet. Because if he becomes the god of destruction, then won't he be able to participate in the tournament of power? That won't work. He also wants to lead the Cyan Legion of Universe 7. Fight an awesome battle. Over the past week, his relationship with Bardos has improved rapidly. We are one step closer to driving a big car. Then, you can beat up Xianpa to improve your progress. Ash found Xianpa and made his thoughts clear. Said he wanted to challenge him. Xianpa was stunned, his pupils widened. You want to challenge me? Ash nodded. Yes. Xianpa's face turned grim. Why? I think you're very strong and want to challenge you. Xianpa, although this sounded nice, he didn't like it. Are you kidding? What is Ash's strength? He might not be able to win. Xianpa hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, the god of destruction is actually very scary. You are very strong now, but it is not enough. You should practice more. Ash smiled and said, it's okay. I'm not afraid. Just use your strength. Xianpa was silent. Things have come to this. Where will I put my face if I refuse him again? Then, Xianpa's face gradually became gloomy. Come on then. Xianpa's expression became serious, and a deep and strange aura slowly rose up, and purple divine power gradually surrounded him. An incomparably powerful divine power spread out, like a giant beast from the abyss awakening, bringing people an incomparable sense of oppression. Xianpa did not hold back and used all his normal strength right away. Suddenly, the entire destructive planet was filled with his terrifying divine power. Even the solid earth is trembling violently. He has seen Ash's deep blue. Therefore, I dare not hold back for a moment. Purple divine power swirled around Xianpa, emitting a faint aura of destruction. The space and time around me are also distorted. Ash saw this scene. A hint of excitement flashed in his eyes, and the manic, belligerent factor in his body surged out crazily. Ash's expression hardened, and she clenched her fists. A golden and red aura shot up into the sky. The mixed flames turned into a spherical barrier, wrapping Ash inside. In the next breath, the flames that enveloped Ash slowly dissipated, revealing his figure completely. At this moment, Ash has transformed into the Super Saiyan 4 divine power form. His entire body was covered in crimson fur, and he looked a lot stronger. Every time he moved, he revealed explosive power. His hair turned from jet black to deep red and extended downwards, reaching his waist. Ash's eyes were also very sharp at this moment, as if she were an extremely terrifying existence. Xianpa looked solemn. What form is this? It's a bit like the Super Saiyan 4 that the Saiyan named Legacy transformed into last time. But why red hair? There is also the breath of divine power lingering around. It looks even scarier than the deep blue last time. Damn, don't you Saiyans have any limits? Wouldn't there be a conflict between mastering Super Saiyan 4 and the power of God? Whispering sound hateful. A bead of sweat appeared on Xianpa's forehead. The next moment, he gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, stomped his feet hard on the ground, and shot out. A crimson aura rose from Ash's body. The vast and majestic power of God and the surging and domineering flames of Super Saiyan 4 intertwined and shimmered, appearing slightly white. The corners of Ash's mouth rose slightly, revealing a smile. Leading the opponent's offensive, he rushed forward. Call out. Ash quickly approached Xayantha. Immediately, he clenched his right fist, and with a force that was as powerful as destroying the world and could shatter the universe with one punch, he smashed it hard into Xayantha's face. Xayantha's pupils shrank so fast. But I'm not slow either. Xayantha retaliated with a fierce punch. Boom! In an instant, the two fists collided violently, and the red flames and purple flames intertwined. An extremely terrifying shock wave spread out like ripples. Boom! Xayantha's face turned pale. What a powerful force. Next interest. His figure suddenly flew backwards, and after flying for several thousand meters, he crashed heavily into his magnificent castle. The castle shattered, turning into countless gem fragments that fell on him. Xayantha lifted a corner, supported the pile of gems with one hand, and slowly climbed up. Hiss, it hurts. Xayantha looked solemn and glanced at his numb right fist. I'm a little unconscious at this moment. After the first punch, he was completely defeated. Sure enough, Ash is extremely strong. Call, you must use all your strength. Xayantha took a deep breath and slowly turned his gaze towards Ash. Come again. Ash didn't say anything. The god of destruction naturally has more abilities than just this. There must be a stronger form of Xayantha. Xayantha slowly closed his eyes, then clenched his fists violently, veins popping out on his forehead. Hollow roars came out of his mouth, faintly shaking time and space. His divine power, no, destructive power, is rising. At this moment, Xayantha truly used his destructive power. I saw a layer of purple destructive power slowly spreading around his feet and then suddenly soared into the sky in the next moment. Boom! The terrifying and rich destructive force turned his body purple-black, and the aura around him gradually turned into a purple-black jet-like aura. This arrogance contained a strange aura, as if it wanted to devour and destroy people. Xayantha's pupils turned white and his face looked ferocious. The whole body was covered by the aura of violence and destruction. Ash narrowed her eyes slightly. Is this the full power of the god of destruction? The power of the god of destruction. Not far away, Bardos, who was watching quietly, shook his head slightly. Although Lord Xayantha has used all his strength, he still may not be able to defeat Ash. Ash's divine power is too strong, and it is showing a skyrocketing trend. Bardos stared at Ash closely. Why did she become stronger all the time? An ancient atmosphere, or something? This is what she doesn't understand. Xayantha stared at Ashley. Come on. Boom. Page 84. The next moment, Xayantha's body was as fast as thunder, and he flew out, tearing through time and space, and came in front of Ash. Call out. He swung his fist, and the fist filled with strong destructive power hit Ash head-on. This punch was extremely powerful, like a collision of stars, carrying unparalleled momentum. Ash's expression remained unchanged as she turned her head to avoid the punch. Destroy. Zhangpa said coldly, then raised his hand and pointed it at Ash's chest, and a destructive force that could annihilate everything suddenly condensed out. And in an instant it blasted out. Boom! Ash's eyes moved next moment. That destructive force passed through Ash and out. Yamosi boxing. Xayantha's pupils shrank, and almost subconsciously he clasped his hands together to resist. Destroy. However, the imagined fist did not fall. But it was a bone-chilling sound. Ash raised her hand and pointed at Xayantha, and shouted in a low voice, suddenly condensing the same destructive force as Xayantha just now. Xayantha's pupils widened. Did he learn that trick? Call out. Not daring to delay, Xayantha quickly raised his hand to resist. He turned his fists into palms and fiercely resisted the invading destructive force. Damn it, it's just a copycat. Xayantha's face turned pale and he couldn't stop retreating. He wanted to annihilate the destructive power, but the opponent's destructive power was not weak and he could not resolve it. Xayantha's face looked ugly. He was in a dilemma. Ash smiled and said, "Try my newest move." The words fell. Ziampa's pupils shrank. The latest move? What will it be? Ziampa didn't dare to think about it. He put all his strength into trying to dissolve the destructive force in front of him. Kalash took a deep breath, then her expression became serious. Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. Suddenly, his figure became illusory, leaving only a real and fake shadow. Next breath. Turtle-style Qigong wave. God's punishment. Final flash. Soul Punisher. Big Bang Kamehameha wave. 7 figures gradually appeared around Ziamba, and each Ash suddenly released 7 special moves. Exclamation 5.4 blast towards Ziamba. What? Ziampa's pupils shrank and his face was full of disbelief. How can it be? Aside. Bardos also frowned slightly, looking a little serious. What kind of move is this? Doppelganger? No, it doesn't look like a clone. Bardos narrowed his eyes slightly, and it seemed more like he was moving at high speed. But how can one perform 7 incredibly powerful moves simultaneously while moving at such high speed? So it's not very likely. So what exactly is this? Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. The huge roar resounded through the sky like thunder. The entire world of the god of destruction was shaking wildly at this moment. Some of the countless planets around it even began to seem to be about to explode. After releasing their ultimate moves, the 7 figures transformed into a beam of light and returned to Ash's main body. Kalash was breathing heavily, her breath disordered. At this time, he can also follow up with a final Kamehameha wave. But considering that Ziampa might not be able to accept it, let's forget it. This move is his ultimate combo flash. Through meditation, he captured the opponent's movement trajectory and released 7 devastating moves in a flash. Beat the opponent so hard that he can't extricate himself. Finally, use the final trick to end it. P.S. Please give me some money and votes. Chapter 67. Self-intention. Subscribe. The smoke slowly dissipated. A figure gradually emerged from the thick smoke. Ziampa's face was pale, his body was hunched, and his breath was weak. The god of destruction costume on his body was almost completely torn, his entire body was covered with scars, and one of his hands and feet was dislocated. At this moment, he has returned to normal and can no longer maintain the power of the god of destruction. Seeing this, Ash couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Defeated Ziamba. At this time, the system rewards also come. Congratulations to the host for defeating Ziamba. Yamoshi's progress increased by 15%. Ziampa stared at Ash and said in a trembling voice, "You want to kill me?" Ash looked a little embarrassed. He hadn't expected this. The damage caused by this ultimate combo of flash is so outrageous. Ziampa was killed in one move. Bardos slowly descended, holding the scepter in her jade hand. After gently waving it and turning it, she aimed it at Ziampa. Call out. Next moment. 21. The injuries on Ziampa's body began to recover visibly, gradually returning to the state they were in at the beginning. Call after returning to normal, Ziampa breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Ash with a hint of fear. "Do you want to kill me?" Ash laughed dryly a few times. It was a mistake. Ziampa didn't say anything, but looked at Ash with fear this moment. He finally understood the gap between the two of them at this moment. At full strength he was killed in seconds. What else is there to say? Ziampa estimates that there is not much difference between Ash and Beerus. The last time, no one else could defeat him so quickly except Beerus. However, even Beerus couldn't be as fast as Ash. Release 7 powerful moves in succession. Who can catch it? Is this a move that a human could come up with? Bardos looked at Ash and asked in confusion, "Ash, what was that move just now? How can you use 7 special moves in 1 second? Ash smiled. Ultimate flash. Ultimate flash. Bardos was stunned. What kind of move was this? She had never heard of it. No, I think I've heard of it before. She always felt like she had heard someone talk about it somewhere. I have no impression. Bardos was distressed because she couldn't remember some things. After a moment's silence, Bardos said, "This move is extremely terrifying. You should use it with caution next time." Ash nodded. Indeed, he still needs to think about it more. He can't control the energy of this thing yet. Just now he was still restraining his strength. Page 85. Otherwise Cyampa will be in an even worse situation. Cyampa looked at Ash, scratched his head and said with a smile, "Ash, I fought with you, and you beat me so badly, shouldn't you? Hey hey." Ash shook her head and smiled. This guy is greedy again. I really can't control my mouth. This time, Ash did not refuse, but nodded, took out a universal capsule and handed it over. "Take this and eat it." Seeing this, Cyampa's eyes lit up. He quickly took it and ran away in situ. Only Ash and Bardos were left. Bardos smiled and said softly, "Where's mine?" Ash smiled and said, "Of course I will give you the best." Ash took out a universal capsule marked with Zidu cuisine and gave it to Bardos. Bardos took it, and a smile immediately appeared on her face. She raised her hand and gently pulled Ash's hair. "So good." Ash, Bardos did not open it immediately, but asked in confusion, "What did you just give to Cyantha?" Ash smiled and said, "Nandu steamed giant centipede." Bardos didn't say anything. Judging from Ash's smile, it shouldn't be a good thing. The corners of Bardos' mouth twitched slightly. Lord Cyantha was so pitiful. After sending Bardos and Cyantha away, Ash checked her personal attribute panel. Host, Ash. Combat power, 10 bloodline, ancient bloodline. Skills, air dance, ultra instinct, kaioken, final kamehameha wave, soul punisher, divine punishment, emoshi fist, ultra instinct link flash main template, emoshi unlock progress 30% sub template, granola unlocked remaining draws, 3 alternative template, kaishin shin, jebit, unknown. The progress has reached 30%. The combat power directly reaches 10. Exclamation. AC looked surprised. So cool. The most important thing is the self-intention power. This is a skill that Gogeta improved by using his own Saiyan characteristics after Beerus taught him the power of destruction. Similar to the power of destruction. But they are not exactly the same. When a person is hurt, his self-intent can use his strong and unyielding fighting will to make him excited during the battle. And as his fighting spirit increases, he can turn it into his own strength. Strength will also grow endlessly with one's own fighting spirit. To put it bluntly, you can become stronger by getting beaten. But what puzzled him was, isn't this a skill that Vegeta improved upon himself? Why would Yamoshi? After pondering for a moment, Ash could only attribute it to the wisdom of her ancestors. This form is considered very friendly to Saiyans. After all, this is a destructive force that incorporates the characteristics of the Saiyans. After defeating Cyantha, Ash felt 103 that maybe she could challenge others. For example, the gods of destruction and masters from other universes. As if she thought of something, Ash's eyes lit up slightly. By the way, doesn't he have Cronoa's skills? Travel and time travel and latitude. Come to think of it, he hasn't used these 2 skills yet. Time travel seems to allow him to travel through time and enter any time node. Latitude travel seems to be able to expand the scope. You can go to any time and space, any place in the universe. So, GT spacetime? Great demon time and space. Do all of these exist? Ash was unsure. At the same time, another question arose in his mind. Is his spacetime super spacetime or something else? He has been confused about this all along. If it is beyond time and space, then where does number 21, Reg, come from? Ash narrowed his eyes and guessed a possibility. Isn't this a hodgepodge? He thought of one of Cronoa's skills, the scroll of time. The existence of this scroll is to change some things by modifying the timeline. However, some things that have already been established may not be able to be changed. That being said, it is very likely that some perverted characters will appear in the future. P.S. Please give me some money. Chapter 68. Frieza is resurrected. Reg arrives on Planet Destroyer. Subscribe. Northern Milky Way. In a certain galaxy, a huge spaceship stands still in the starry sky. Thousands of daughter ships followed around it. Inside the control cabin of the mothership, a short man with a big head and a small body, disproportionate overall proportions and no neck. He knelt on one knee and bowed his head, saying, "Lord Frieza, during your absence, a number of powerful evil beings appeared on Earth, and in addition to the Saiyans like Son Goku, there was also an extremely powerful Saiyan, whose background we currently have no idea about. Recently, I heard that Sun Wukong and his group have mastered Super Saiyan 4. It's incredibly terrifying. They're still progressing towards even stronger forms. I suspect this is all the work of that Saiyan. Their reputation has spread throughout the entire northern galaxy. No one dares to approach the Earth now. As for the other information," Thorby said slowly. After finishing speaking in one breath, Salby paused and said, "My lord, this is all the information we have collected so far." The figure on the cushion above did not speak. Salb raised his head slightly, only daring to look at Frieza out of the corner of his eye. He couldn't see Frieza's expression, but based on his understanding of King Frieza, he absolutely couldn't say anything nonsense at this time. Otherwise there will be extremely disastrous consequences. Salbe lowered his head quickly and didn't dare to speak a long time. Frieza's cold voice came. "Chief of Staff Salby, I want to ask you something." "Salb!" Exclamation. Salby shuddered, his short frame trembling with cold. He quickly said, "Lord Frieza, please feel free to ask me anything. I will tell you everything I know." Frieza knocked on the metal frame and smiled gently. He don't be nervous. It's just a simple question." Salbe just breathed a sigh of relief next second. His body tensed again. "I want to ask you, why did you resurrect me after so many things happened?" Salb's face turned pale as he quickly explained, "Lord Frieza, this is because it's difficult for us to obtain the Dragon Balls, and no need to say more, I know." Frieza waved his hand and said calmly, "Whether you're afraid of your own status declining and want me to lead the Frieza army or whatever, it doesn't matter. In short, you resurrected me, and that's enough, but I don't want something like this to happen again." Salb breathed a sigh of relief and quickly said, "I will remember this." He really is used to being a dictator and doesn't want to revive Frieza, but now the forces in the universe are so complicated and numerous heroes have emerged that they don't even dare to go to the North Milky Way. If the king is not resurrected, we will be doomed. Frieza frowned slightly. "Tell me more about that Saiyan on Earth." "Yes." Salby nodded quickly and told all the information he knew. After hearing this, Frieza narrowed his eyes slightly, his expression solemn. "No matter who I face, it's an instant kill." Frieza turned to look at Salb and said slowly, "Are you sure you're not lying? Otherwise you know the consequences." Salbe quickly knelt on his knees and said nervously, "I absolutely dare not." "Ha, that's interesting." Frieza chuckled softly, his eyes fixed on the starry sky outside the window. His eyes were deep and there was no sign of emotion. 3 Saiyans appeared in quick succession. Ash Broly and the other, whose identity was unknown, were rumored to be so powerful that the entire universe was shaken by his aura. This is the information given by Salby. Frieza didn't suspect him, and Salb didn't dare to lie to him. Page 86. When I died, so many things happened. Think of this. Frieza's face twisted into a look of anger. Damn it, it's all that wild monkey's fault. Sun Wukong. If it weren't for him, would he have fallen behind so much? It seems that the world is undergoing tremendous changes. If I, Frieza, remain unchanged, I will be buried by the flow of people." Frieza said slowly. Salby lowered his head. He didn't dare to respond. Frieza looked at Salb and said calmly, "Time is running out. Notify everyone and launch a search throughout the universe at all costs. Find me a training ground where the time inside and outside are different. Such a thing should exist." Salbe was stunned. "The time inside and outside is different?" "Yes, it's a world where the flow of time is completely different from the outside world. I've heard of this thing from the Frozen Demon Clan before," Frieza said slowly. So many terrifying beings have risen in the entire universe. If Frieza doesn't take it seriously, he will become a supporting role. Salp looked puzzled. Where could such a thing exist? Lord Frieza, isn't this forcing us to do what we want? Can't you do it? Frieza said coldly. No, I will definitely complete the task. Forby responded quickly. Frieza said nothing and slowly closed his eyes. Just as Salb was about to walk out of the hatch, Frieza suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Wait." Salb stopped quickly and looked at Frieza in confusion. Frieza said calmly, "Go ahead and resurrect my dead brother and father. They have so many Saiyans. How can my frozen demon clan be left out?" Salbe didn't dare to think too much and nodded in agreement. After Salb left, Frieza was full of thoughts and had a struggling look on his face. In fact, he has a son, frozen since birth. It's been almost 30 or 40 years and it still hasn't hatched. When he was born, he had only been frozen for more than 10 years. The longer the frozen demon clan is frozen at birth, the stronger their talent will be. But how many times has he died now? His son hasn't even hatched yet. Frieza couldn't even imagine this talent. After a long pause, Frieza slowly said, "Perhaps we could try putting him in a world where time flows at a different speed." The Saiyans are extremely powerful now, and if Frieza wants to develop, he must need teammates. Although he was confident that he was strong, he had not yet reached the point of looking down on everything the sixth universe. Ash said goodbye to Bados and Zyampa and said that she wanted to go home. The two did not stop him, but just asked AI Zai to bring some delicious food. Ash agreed with a smile, then teleported to the seventh universe at the same time. The seventh universe. The first half hour. Just as Wise was teaching Goku, Vegeta, and Broly how to train, an uninvited guest arrived. Reg. During a battle, Reg landed on the planet Yadrat and learned teleportation from the Yadrat people. This is also the reason why he was not surprised when he saw Ash teleport last time. And Reg's arrival on planet Destroyer naturally caught Beerus' attention. He still has a high opinion of Reg. If recruiting Sun Wukong and the other two is to give face to Ash. But Reg was exactly what he had his eye on. Even Beerus thought that Super Saiyan 5 was very powerful. But before Beerus could speak, Vegeta and Reg's eyes met. Son Goku and Broly also looked at the man who appeared suddenly with confusion. Vegeta frowned. The other person had a tail and looked similar to him. It was very likely Reg. When Reg saw Beerus and was about to go up to say hello, he turned around and saw Vegeta. As they stared at each other, violent factor in his body suddenly erupted, rushing into his mind like crazy. For no reason, Reg reacted. Don't blame him. It was because, as soon as he saw Vegeta, he recalled the humiliating time. Reg's face was grim, staring at Vegeta. Vegeta? Boom! A violent aura gushed out from his body. This was due to instinctive anger, and the aura could not be suppressed at all. Call out. A huge gust of wind blew over, and everyone's expression changed aside. Beerus's face changed. What was going on? How come you're already doing this right after you arrive? As if he thought of something, Beerus glanced at Vegeta suddenly like, "Damn it!" Brothers. Beerus reacted suddenly. Immediately, his face turned grim, and no one told him about it. Vegeta and Reg are having a conflict. It seems that the contradiction is quite big. He didn't dare to think about it and immediately wanted to step forward to stop it. Weiss held him back. Beerus turned around, looking anxious. "Wise, what are you doing?" Wise stared ahead and said with a smile, "Lord Beerus, don't you want to see this good show?" Beerus's face turned ugly and he cursed. "Wise, are you an idiot? This is the realm of destruction gods. Our home. Is it for them to fight?" Wise's expression changed slightly. He was still thinking that Lord Beerus was kind-hearted in wanting to stop them. I wonder when Lord Beerus became like this. It turns out that he is worried about his own world of destruction. Cough, cough. Wise coughed lightly twice, his face looking a little unnatural. Lord Beerus, please be patient. I will recover in a moment. Beerus's face was gloomy. Is this a matter of recovery or not? This is about his face. If we fight well in his place, where would he put his face? But since Weiss came forward, he didn't want to say anything more. He snorted coldly and stared ahead. You better come up with something special for me. Otherwise in a moment, I'll beat you all to bits. Beerus said coldly. Sun Wukong resisted the strong wind, his face full of solemnity. What a strong spirit. He looked at Vegeta and said slowly, Vegeta, this should be the Reg that Ash was talking about. Vegeta nodded, his expression grim. I know. How could this energy be so powerful? Saying Reg is strong doesn't mean you are this strong. Aside. Broly stared at Reg, with a hint of surging fighting spirit in his eyes. Birth combat power of 5? He wanted to see what kind of stuff it was. Reg's face was gloomy as he looked at the 3 people opposite him. Then, he slowly looked at Beerus and said, Can I do it? He still knows the rules when he is in someone else's territory. And heard Reg's question. Beerus's frown finally relaxed and he felt a little relieved. Face is back. Beerus nodded, okay. He also wanted to see what tricks these 4 people could perform. After getting Beerus's answer, Reg turned his attention to Son Goku and the other 2. Reg sneered, You can come together. P.S. Please give me some money and votes. Chapter 69. Chapter 69. Reg seeks revenge. No one can save Vegeta today. Subscribe together. The 3 of them looked changed. So crazy. Son Goku took a step forward. Are you Vegeta's brother? I've heard about what happened between you 2, and I think there might be some misunderstanding. Besides, we're all Saiyans, so why not just live in peace? Sun Wukong continued to smile and said, We have been training here with Master Beerus and making progress together. It would be great if any misunderstandings were resolved. Reg stared at Son Goku, sizing him up before sneering. How could you possibly understand my difficulties? No need to say more. I'm determined to kill Vegeta today. No one can save me. Sun Wukong's expression changed slightly. It seemed like this was another unreasonable person. Sun Wukong wanted to say something else, but was stopped by Vegeta. Vegeta? Sun Wukong was puzzled. Vegeta snorted coldly, staring at Reg. Kakarot, there's no need to waste time talking to him. If he wants to fight, then come on. After saying that, Vegeta took a step forward, confronting Reg without any fear. Sun Wukong hesitated, but nothing but Vegeta interrupted him and said coldly, A person who blames his own suffering on a completely unrelated person, how can he be a strong person? Halfway through his words, Vegeta sneered, You're just a sheep in wolf's clothing. Under the appearance of thinking you're powerful, your heart is so ridiculous. This was heard by Reg without any air. You call me ridiculous? Reg growled with a ferocious look on his face. Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. A terrifying aura gushed out from his body, like a giant beast from the abyss awakening, bringing with it an endless feeling of suffocation time. The entire world of the god of destruction was shrouded in his terrifying aura. What? Sun Wukong's expression changed. A bead of sweat appeared on Vegeta's face and his expression changed slightly. How do you understand me? 117 You enjoy all the glory and wealth, while I can only survive in humiliation, Reg roared. Vegeta frowned and gritted his teeth. What nonsense are you talking about? When planet Vegeta was destroyed, I was only 5 years old. Enjoy the glory and wealth. Enjoy the chicken feathers. He finally understood that Reg was a madman, perverted and twisted. Because of King Vegeta, he is full of resentment. But he had no way to vent his anger because King Vegeta was already dead. So I can only point the finger at myself. Reg's face was stunned and his expression was a little unnatural, but he still shouted, So what? You still have the honor, you are still the Prince of the Saiyans. And I can only be a freak wandering around. Vegeta's face turned grim. You blame me for this? Vegeta gritted his teeth and said, Stop talking nonsense. If you have the ability, then speak with strength. If you can kill me, just come. Reg sneered and said nothing. Golden flames surrounded his body. He stomped his right foot on the ground, and his body bounced out. Boom! In an instant, the earth was torn into 4 pieces, turning into countless branches that split apart inch by inch. He himself had vanished. Vegeta, be careful, Sun Wukong shouted. Vegeta's pupils shrank slightly, and he saw a towering figure in front of him leaning forward slightly and suddenly punching out. This punch carried unparalleled momentum, and the terrifying force shook the air. Boom! Exclamation! Vegeta had no time to react and was hit hard in the face. He flew backwards and crashed into the mountain behind him. The mountain shattered into pieces, turning into countless fragments that crushed Vegeta. Boom! Exclamation! Sun Wukong said anxiously. Vegeta. Next interest. A voice roared out from the rubble, and Vegeta's figure stood up. Ha! As Vegeta's aura grew, a powerful golden aura suddenly rose from his body, covering him, and the majestic and rich aura spread in all directions. The golden light dissipated, and Vegeta's body was covered with red fluff, and his tail also turned red. His hair was long, reaching down to his waist. The pupils also changed from pitch black to golden. Super Saiyan 4. Vegeta clenched his fist, pointed at himself and said arrogantly, This is Super Saiyan 4. After saying this, he looked at Reg, trying to see a hint of surprise on the other's face. However, Reg just sneered, Is this even worthy of being called Super Saiyan 4? Vegeta's expression changed. What do you mean? Reg sneered, My dear brother, let me show you what a true Super Saiyan 4 is. After saying that, Reg clenched his fists and his aura began to rise rapidly. Ha! As Reg's aura rose, the entire world of the god of destruction began to tremble and shake violently. Sun Wukong's expression changed, and he stared at Reg. What a terrifying aura! Broly's expression remained unchanged, but there was still a hint of shock in his eyes. This aura is probably even stronger than his legendary Super Blonde. No wonder he's scary. Sighed. Beerus stared at Reg and said slowly, His energy is different from Goku and the others. It's a bit too strong to be believed. He had seen Reg and Ash fight last time, but I didn't have time to research it properly this time. After a closer look, he discovered the mystery. Reg's aura is different from that of ordinary Saiyans like Son Goku, who are simply bellicose. But it is closer to bloodthirsty and violent. Looks a bit like Broly. Beerus looked at Broly, who had been with him all this time. He was very familiar with Broly. He was usually very gentle, but he would become bloodthirsty and violent when fighting. It's almost genetic instinct at work. So Wise has been correcting Broly and teaching him to cultivate his mind. As for Son Goku and Vegeta, they are completely different from him. It's not that they don't have this kind of bloodiness, but simply analyzing from the perspective of energy, they may not be CBFE so bloodthirsty and violent. But it is precisely this reason that seems to have given them a significant advantage in cultivating the divine power form or the full power of Super Saiyan 4. After all, this aspect requires stability. On the other hand, Broly is completely unable to do so, as he is completely unable to suppress his emotions and control the stability of his energy, not to mention cultivating divine power. Currently, Wise no longer forces Broly to learn divine power, but instead repeatedly emphasizes the importance of character. It seems that there are differences among Saiyans. Beerus said slowly aside. Weiss seemed to see through his thoughts and smiled softly. Indeed, Lord Beerus, there are differences among Saiyans too. Beerus looked over. Weiss looked towards the 4 people in front of him. His eyes narrowed slightly. Take Broly and Reg for example. The possibility of them being able to cultivate divine power is almost zero. Divine power tests a person's balance too much. These 2 Saiyans possess extremely pure bloodlines. Their Saiyan violent nature constantly influences them. Controlling divine power is incredibly difficult. Beerus nodded. Indeed, the difficulty of cultivating divine power is not high, but it is not low either. Most people want to practice cultivation, as long as one is diligent and hardworking, and can control the Kai delicately and skillfully. Cultivating divine power will not be difficult. But Reg and Broly are different. The bloodlines of these two were too pure, and the violent factors in their bodies made it impossible for them to control their emotions and their own energy, so, no matter what, there are gains and losses. They may be able to take the Saiyan evolution route smoothly and easily, but other routes are unlikely, Weiss said softly. Beerus nodded. That makes sense. In that case, the ordinary Son Goku and Vegeta, on the other hand, have many routes and many roads to choose from. Beerus sighed. Saiyans, what an amazing race. It seems that Goku and Vegeta have no advantages, but they actually have huge advantages. Because, no matter what path they take, they can both try it. It just requires diligence and hard work. After all, they don't have the legendary talents of Reg and Broly. Page 88. Beerus seemed to have thought of something, and his expression froze. By the way, what about Ash? Almost forgot about this stuff. The strongest Saiyan currently, Weiss's expression also froze. Yeah, what about Ash? Ash is completely different from the four people present. Not only can he cultivate divine power, he can also go on the Super Saiyan 4 route at any time, and it's all very easy. He is also belligerent, but he does not lose his mind. This is strange. After Weiss pondered for a moment, he could only slowly say, perhaps his bloodline is pure. This is the only explanation at the moment. Considering all the advantages and disadvantages of the four people present, isn't this the full bloodline? Beerus thought for a moment and said, indeed, I think so too. Weiss smiled and said, didn't he become my apprentice? I'll ask you when I have time what his bloodline is. There is no doubt that Bardos's knowledge is broader than his. Boom! The other side. The ground cracked under Reg's feet, and the aura around him surged and rolled, and the golden aura soared into the sky. The sky of the God realm was stirred into darkness. There was a strong wind blowing all around, and the earth was shaking violently. Not long after, the rich golden aura around Reg dissipated slightly, leaving only a faint jet-like aura. Strange and flickering lightning swirled in the flames. Make a sizzling sound, and Reg's figure slowly appeared. At this moment his body was covered with dark red fur, his figure became stronger, his muscles were extremely huge, giving people a feeling of great power. Call out. A strong wind swept in. Vegeta's expression changed, and he immediately stared at Reg. Vegeta's eyes were filled with shock. This energy's so strong. P.S. Please give me some money. Chapter 70. A tough showdown. Sun Wukong comes on. Subscribe. Aside. Sun Wukong stared at Reg and said solemnly, it has become Super Saiyan 4 and its energy is so strong. This is the strongest aura he has ever seen except for Ash. Son Goku looked at Vegeta with concern. Vegeta, can you beat him? Goku, the hair on his body's dark red exclamation, Broly said in a serious tone. Sun Wukong nodded, his eyes narrowed slightly as he guessed, I see. This must be due to his bloodline, making him so different from us. Reg opened his hands and breathed a sigh of relief. Then he slowly turned his gaze to Vegeta, his eyes mocking. Did you see that? This is Super Saiyan 4. Do you understand the difference? After hearing the other party's words, Vegeta finally came back to his senses. Vegeta stared at Reg. Is this the value of a 5 UN birth certificate? Whispering sound. You'll know after you fight. Vegeta gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, and shouted coldly. Thum! As soon as he finished speaking, he stomped his right foot hard, and the ground cracked and turned into countless pieces. Vegeta shot out at a very fast speed and rushed straight towards Reg. There was a sonic boom in the air. Vegeta approached Reg, using both his body and his body, leaned forward and suddenly threw a punch. This punch was extremely powerful, carrying the toughness and tyranny of Super Saiyan 4, and the explosive power carried a surging trend. Attack suddenly. Looking at the approaching Vegeta, Reg sneered. Too slow. Reg tilted his head slightly and easily dodged the opponent's swift attack. Then he changed his palm into a fist, aimed his fist at Vegeta's stomach, and suddenly punched out. Boom! It was like Mars hitting the Earth, and before Vegeta could react, it hit Vegeta's stomach hard. Boom! A dull thud was heard. Vomit. Vegeta's pupils widened and there was an expression of disbelief on his face. He spat out a mouthful of sour water. So fast. Reg didn't hold back with this punch. He will not hold back when dealing with Vegeta. Reg sneered. It hurts now. It's still early. Then. Reg swung his fist quickly, and suddenly a series of terrifyingly powerful punches fell on Vegeta like raindrops. Ah 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 ah, Vegeta howled in pain, his heart-wrenching screams echoing through the sky. Boom! Exclamation! After Reg finished a series of punches, he finally punched Vegeta on the head, kicking him hard and sending him flying towards the ground below. Vegeta. Sun Wukong looked anxious and shouted loudly, "Call out!" Not daring to think too much, he immediately exploded with energy. A layer of white flames rose around his body and flew straight towards Vegeta. Catch Vegeta in advance at the spot where he falls. Vegeta had returned to normal by now, his body covered in wounds and his clothes torn. Son Goku put Vegeta on the ground and asked quickly, "Vegeta, are you okay?" Vegeta's face turned grim. "Look at me. Do I look okay?" Vegeta ignored Son Goku, slowly sat up with one hand on the ground and looked at Reg. His eyes were full of solemnity too strong. Sun Wukong said in a serious tone, "Vegeta, you take a rest first. I will come to meet him." Vegeta said angrily, "Tusk, Kakarot, you don't have to mind my business." As he said this, he struggled to get up. However, he was interrupted by Sun Wukong. "Vegeta, don't be willful. We need everyone to work together to face this situation." Vegeta, without waiting for Vegeta to speak, Sun Wukong looked at Reg in the sky. Sun Wukong looked serious, his eyes fixed on Reg. "Hey, let me fight you." Reg glanced at Son Goku and said, "Are you Vegeta's friend?" As he spoke, he snorted coldly, "It's the same stuff no matter how many of them come, it's useless." Sun Wukong chuckled faintly, "Whether it works or not, won't we know after we fight?" The words fell. Sun Wukong's eyes focused, he clenched his fists, and low roars came from his throat. Veins popped out on Sun Wukong's forehead, and a layer of sky-blue flames suddenly rose from his feet. Waves of powerful divine power surged from his body and spread outward like ripples. Crack! The layer of blue and white light covering the surface of Sun Wukong shattered into pieces. Sun Wukong's figure was revealed. Sky-blue divine power burned all over his body, and his hair, eyebrows, and pupils all changed from black to sky-blue. It gives people a mysterious and amazing sense of oppression. Reg did not make a move, but waited quietly for the other party's transformation to be completed. After seeing Sun Wukong's super blue, a look of surprise appeared on Reg's face, and then he sneered, "I know this form. That person is much stronger than you." Page 89. Besides, his color is dark blue. Request flowers. Sun Wukong smiled and said, "Really?" Reg smiled faintly. "I'll give you 3 chances." Sun Wukong's eyes fixed, and without saying a word, he assumed a battle stance. Next interest. Call out. His figure turned into a flash of lightning and suddenly shot out, heading straight towards Reg. Boom! Sun Wukong instantly approached Reg and punched him hard. The punch was extremely powerful, but Reg easily blocked it with his raised hand. Too slow. "One move," Reg said lightly. Sun Wukong's expression froze and he quickly withdrew his hand. Swish! His figure disappeared from the spot, and when he reappeared, he was already behind Reg and kicked him with a fierce punch. It hit Reg's head directly. Call out. Sun Wukong's pupils shrank slightly. Did he kick in vain? Reg's voice came from behind him. One move left. Sun Wukong turned his head suddenly, a small bead of sweat appearing on his face. He stared at Reg, his eyes full of solemnity. He has practiced for too short a time. His normal combat power is too low, far from enough to be compared with Reg. According to Weiss, his current full combat power has just reached size level. The person opposite at least has size peak stats. Sun Wukong didn't think much about it and crossed his hands at his waist, forming a calyx shape. In an instant, a ray of blue light appeared, and a terrifying aura of energy condensed and rushed in all directions. Turtle School Kai Gong. Sun Wukong growled, his eyes fixed on Reg. Wave! With a final roar, his figure suddenly disappeared. Teleport! When he appeared again, he was already behind Reg, and suddenly pushed out the Kamehameha wave in his hand. In an instant, a thick column of energy suddenly hit Reg from behind. Boom! Reg didn't dodge or evade, letting the energy hit him in an instant. A huge roar sounded like thunder, resounding in all directions. A mushroom cloud slowly rose, becoming thicker and thicker, completely covering the sky. Sun Wukong stared at the center of the smoke. Wait until the smoke slowly dissipates. Sun Wukong's pupils shrank. No body. And just at this moment, a bone-chilling voice came from behind him. 3 moves have passed. It's my turn. PS. Please give me some money. Guang. Chapter 71. Super Bloodline vs Ancient Bloodline. Subscribe. What? Almost subconsciously, Sun Wukong turned around immediately, and then saw a fist as big as a sandbag coming towards him. Boom! Exclamation! A fist hit Sun Wukong's face hard, and in an instant his body flew backwards. And the direction he landed was exactly where Gogeta had just fallen coincidentally. It landed safely in Gogeta's arms. Sun Wukong stood up with difficulty and looked at Gogeta beside him. Thanks, Gogeta. Then he cast his gaze towards the sky again, his expression solemn. The gap between us and him is too big. Gogeta gritted his teeth. Kakarot, I told you it's useless. Sun Wukong scratched his head and smiled, but I can't let you fight alone. As he spoke, his expression gradually calmed down. It's no good for us to continue fighting like this. Let's go together. The other party's intention to kill Gogeta doesn't seem to be false. As a friend, you must not watch Gogeta get beaten alone. Gogeta said nothing, but stared at Reg. Call out. A figure flew over. The two looked and saw that the person coming was Broly. Broly looked at the two of them with a serious expression. I'll fight him, you guys recover first. Sun Wukong was stunned for a moment, then shook his head. Broly, he is too strong. 117, not an ordinary person can deal with him. Don't worry. Broly stared at Reg. I may not lose. Boom! Exclamation! After saying that, he stopped talking nonsense and stomped his right foot hard on the ground, causing it to crack into countless pieces instantly. And Broly's figure has disappeared from the spot. Call out. When he appeared again, he had already seen Reg's expression and suddenly punched Reg in the face. This punch was packed with terrifying power, and the aura was majestic and terrifying. Reg narrowed his eyes slightly, and like the two just now, Reg swung his right fist and hit Broly's fist without showing any weakness. Boom! Exclamation! At the center point where the two fists collided, a huge shock wave spread out in all directions like ripples. Boom! Suddenly, 1,000 waves were stirred up. Bang! 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 The next moment, the two figures disappeared from the spot. 2 figures flashed back and forth in the sky, and the terrifying collision sound was like thunder. Sun Wukong had a small drop of sweat on his forehead, his expression solemn. To be able to fight Broly like this, is this the value of being born with 5 combat power? At this moment, even Sun Wukong had to admit that the bonus brought by Bloodline was really huge. Take the time they spent training in the God of Destruction, for example. His and Vegeta's progress was like a snail compared to Broly's. Vegeta's face turned grim, and he said in a deep voice, "Tisk, it all comes down to our normal combat power being too weak." Ash said, Don't focus on breakthroughs in form. Just improve your normal combat capabilities, and let everything else take its course. Now it seems to be true. Sun Wukong nodded. Indeed. Sun Wukong looked at the two people fighting in the sky. His eyes narrowed slightly. Vegeta. We have fallen too much. Vegeta frowned and looked at Son Goku. Kakarot. What do you want to say? Sun Wukong said in a deep voice. As you said, our normal combat power is too weak. I think we should improve our normal combat power. Vegeta asked. How do you say that? Sun Wukong asked. Do you still remember the spirit time room? Vegeta was shocked. You want to go in there? Of course, he is no stranger to the spirit time house. This is a place where the flow of time is different from that of the outside world. 1 year inside is 1 day outside, and the effect of cultivation increases exponentially. Vegeta pondered for a moment and then said, Why do you want to go there? Boom! At this moment, Broly in the sky was knocked away by Reg's punch and landed on the ground with a huge roar. But the next moment, Broly's roar came from it. The green flames filled the entire world of the god of destruction. It was extremely terrifying. Ha! Broly's hair was golden, his pupils were white, and he roared as he fought with Reg again. Bang! Then, Sun Wukong stared at the two of them and said in a deep voice, I think we've fallen too far behind. Take Gohan for example. Under Ash's guidance, it won't be long before he surpasses us again. During this period of time, the two of them have been practicing hard and are already showing signs of surpassing Son Gohan. But he felt that with Son Gohan's potential and with Ash's guidance, he would be able to lead them again within a month. Vegeta's face darkened. He admitted that this was true. Son Gohan has so much potential and talent. Even though he is not practicing now, when Ash comes back, his combat power will definitely skyrocket. Thinking of this, Vegeta's face became uglier. Damn it. Vegeta looked at Son Goku and said in a deep voice, Kakarot, what you said makes sense. He slowly raised his gaze to the sky, his expression calming down. During this period of time, many Saiyans have appeared, each of them renowned for their exceptional talent. We, who diligently train, are left far behind. If I don't change my mindset, I'm afraid I'll end up like those rookies on Earth. Page 90. Sun Wukong chuckled twice. There was no rebuttal, which was rare. Indeed, if they don't change their mindset, they will become real rookies. Sun Wukong nodded. We don't know what kind of enemies we will encounter in the future. We must keep up with their pace. Vegeta nodded, his eyes narrowed slightly, his expression becoming ferocious. I have decided, this time I enter the spirit time chamber, I will not come out until I have practiced to surpass Reg. Sun Wukong, this oath was too forced upon myself. Beyond Reg? How can we surpass Reg if we don't even know his background? However, Sun Wukong smiled instead. Then let's make a vow to surpass Ash. As soon as these words came out, it was Vegeta's turn to be shocked. Surpass Ash? How many peanuts did you eat to dare to think like this? He didn't even dare to vow to surpass Ash, so he just mentioned Reg. Vegeta frowned slightly. Kakarot, are you okay? Ash has defeated Beerus. You're talking to me about transcendence. There is a reason and a logic for me to surpass Reg. It would be unrealistic for you to surpass Ash, right? Sun Wukong frowned and seemed to think that there was some truth in it, so he changed his words and said, Then I will approach Ash. Vegeta looked at Son Goku meaningfully, so I'll have to train in the spirit time chamber for a long time. Boom! Exclamation! Back to Broly and Reg. The two are getting more and more excited and stronger as the fight goes on. Both of them fought in an extremely crazy and brutal way. There are only 4 words: attack, no defense. That's right, when the two of them fought, they only attacked and didn't defend. They both tried their best to hit each other's vital points, like 2 wild beasts. Then. At the beginning, Broly was at a disadvantage and was being beaten by Reg, but as time went on slowly, the style of painting has changed. Broly is already on par with Reg. At this moment, Super Saiyan 4 with ancient bloodline and legendary Super Saiyan start a shocking battle for the first time. Hateful. Reg's face was ferocious, and the man opposite him was like a madman, even crazier than him. He punched the other person to death and the other person immediately hit back with twice the force. He still underestimated the other party. I thought he was just an ordinary Saiyan like Vegeta, but I didn't expect him to be so terrifying. Reg stepped back, staring at Broly, who was clinging to him tightly. You are the second Saiyan I have ever seen whose bloodline is not inferior to mine. I recognize you. What else did Reg want to say? Boom. Exclamation, exclamation. Broly's lips curled up in sarcasm as he shot out, roaring and punching Reg in the face. In an instant, Reg's face came into close contact with Broly's fist. Reg's face was ferocious. He pushed his face back and stared at Broly. Damn it, stop pushing your luck. Boom! Exclamation. Reg punched Broly's chest fiercely, with tremendous power, endless dominance and strong force. It poured into Broly's chest. Broly's pupils shrank slightly, but the next moment his expression became even more ferocious, and he roared and swung at Reg again. Snapped. But Reg raised his hand to block it. Reg stared at Broly with a cold expression. I want to show you the horror of Super Saiyan 5. Boom! Exclamation. As soon as he finished speaking, he clenched his fists and a golden aura exploded around him, blowing Broly away. Hello roars came from his throat. Broly's white pupils came back to his senses slightly and his rationality eased a little. This was Weiss teaching him how to control his emotions. Broly narrowed his eyes and stared at Reg. Super Saiyan 5? Below. Beerus, who was watching, narrowed his eyes slightly. It's coming. The same form as when he fought Ash last time. 5.4 Weiss looked at Reg. He's a little stronger now than last time. Beerus nodded, then looked at Broly and said slowly, I have to say, Broly is also a genius. The last time I went to fight Ash, he was nothing. After training with you, his strength has also skyrocketed. Beerus exclaimed, Is this a Saiyan? What an amazing race. Weiss smiled softly. Lord Beerus, have you forgotten about Goku and Vegeta? Beerus was stunned. He then turned his gaze to Son Goku and Vegeta, who were watching on the other side. He frowned and said, they are the exceptions. Weiss smiled and said, Lord Beerus is really good at giving people a taste of his own medicine. Aren't you afraid that one day they'll suddenly rise up and scare you? Beerus said calmly, That's impossible, to be honest. Except for Ash, all other Saiyans are no match for me. Weiss smiled. It was true. The value of the top destroyer god cannot be challenged. However, this is limited to the present time. If Lord Beerus was born in the previous generation, it would have been difficult for him. P.S. Please give me some money and votes. Exclamation, 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 exclamation. Chapter 72, Chu-and-Ko. The battle enters a white-hot stage. Subscribe. Just when the two were chatting enthusiastically. Swish! A figure suddenly appeared beside the two of them, and a man in white martial arts uniform slowly stood up. Ash! Ash saw Beerus and Weiss and smiled. They're all here. Beerus and Weiss were both stunned, then exclaimed, Ash. Beerus quickly stepped forward and asked in confusion, Aren't you going to Universe 6? Come back so soon? Ah. Ash nodded, then slowly looked up at the sky. Broly and Reg. Ash glanced at the two of them, then looked at Beerus. What's going on? Beerus said calmly, I didn't expect Reg and Vegeta had a grudge. Isn't he here to seek revenge? Revenge? It seems that Reg was not defeated last time. Ash smiled and looked at Goku and Vegeta. So, since they're defeated, it's Broly's turn now. Beerus nodded. Goku and Vegeta were killed in seconds. Ash nodded, not at all surprised. That's normal. Their normal combat power is very low. Ash looked towards the sky with interest. So, this is Legend vs Ancient? Interesting. It's a rare opportunity. Ash plans to eat some melon. Then, he took out a universal capsule and aimed it at the ground. Just listen. Then, A set of neatly arranged stools, tables, and parasols specially designed for eating melons were placed out and stood neatly on the ground. There was also watermelon and seeds on the table. Beerus looked shocked. What is this 21? Watermelon. Ash cut the watermelon into several slices with her hand knife and gave them to Beerus and Wise. The two looked at the watermelons in their hands with great joy. Full of juice, bright red color. It's still a bit cold. It's obviously a delicacy at first glance. And this time, Sun Wukong and Vegeta had also noticed Ash's arrival and slowly flew over. Sun Wukong looked surprised. Ash, when did you come? Just arrived. Ash smiled and pointed to the table beside him. Eat melon. Son Goku and Vegeta were stunned. Page 91. Eat melon? Seeing that Ash and the other two were eating, Sun Wukong picked up a petal without thinking and took a bite. So sweet, Vegeta. A good fight turned into a melon-eating competition? Vegeta hesitated for a moment, then picked up one and started eating. Apart from anything else, this melon is indeed sweet. It's really nice to watch while eating. Ash's expression was indifferent. Super 5 and Legend Super Green Hair are coming. Everyone looked around quickly. Boom! As his aura grew, the flames ignited around Reg's body gradually changed from golden yellow to silver white. All around him, a jet of silver white flame shot up into the sky. As the light slowly faded away, Reg's deep red hair had turned into silver white. His hair also grew a lot longer and turned silver white. Reg's aura was surrounded by flashing lightning, making a crackling sound. This is Super Saiyan 5. At this moment his aura was different from just now. A drastic change had occurred at this moment. Broly, who was closest to him, saw this scene and his expression changed slightly. Such a strong energy. Broly looked shocked as he looked at the man who had undergone a drastic change. Super Saiyan 5? After taking a deep breath, Reg looked at Broly with a calm expression. You are the second person to see me in this form. Do you have anything to say? Broly's face was grim. What does he want with this condescending look? Broly said nothing, stomped hard into the air, and flew out. Boom! Exclamation! Broly was surrounded by green flames. His aura was extremely terrifying, and his huge fist hit Reg with the power to destroy the world. This punch was so powerful it faintly tore the air apart and distorted time and space. Like Mars colliding with the Earth, it carried a force that shocked the world, but it was such a terrifying punch. Reg didn't even blink and didn't dodge, allowing the other party to hit him. Boom! Broly's punch hit Reg hard. However, it didn't move at all, as if it hit a steel plate, without causing any ripples. A hint of sarcasm appeared on Reg's lips. It's useless. Super 5 is not something you can measure. Do you really think you are Ash? Broly's white pupils came back to consciousness. No effect. Call out. Reg threw a punch at Broly. This punch was not accompanied by any arrogance, nor did it come with any power. Just an ordinary punch. Boom! Exclamation! Next interest. Broly's pupils shrank as he stared at his stomach in disbelief. At some point, Reg had already punched him in the stomach with such force that the punch went deep into his stomach. Broly retreated violently and crashed into a mountain before he finally stopped. See this scene. Son Goku and Vegeta looked shocked. Sun Wukong's eyes were serious. Only one punch. As he spoke, he couldn't help but look at Reg again. What form is this? Exclamation! Vegeta was also shocked. What form is that? With just one punch, Broly was knocked away. Beerus said slowly, this is Super Saiyan 5. Super Saiyan 5? The two of them exclaimed in surprise. Son Goku was incredulous. I didn't expect that the Super Saiyan 4 just now wasn't his full strength. There's even a Super Saiyan 5. Vegeta crushed the watermelon in his hand with an ugly look on his face. Are you kidding me? He hasn't adapted to Super Saiyan 4 yet. Super 5 is coming. Ash smiled and said, don't worry, Broly's final form is coming soon. Everyone was stunned. Broly also has a final form? Ash didn't say anything, just stared straight ahead. Everyone was puzzled, but no one asked. Instead, they all looked in the direction his gaze was pointing. Ha! Amidst a pile of rubble, a tall and sturdy figure slowly emerged. Broly had a ferocious look on his face, and roars came from his throat. The sound was deafening, like a ferocious beast roaring, bringing boundless oppression to people. Suddenly, layers of green flames and green light rose up from Broly's body. Exclamation! Broly slowly flew up, his hands spread wide, and an astonishing aura spread out. At this moment, Broly's hair has turned green, his pupils have turned completely white, and his face looks ferocious and wild. His body became twice as big again. His height is over 3 meters, his muscles are extremely strong, and he has unparalleled strength. Saw the scene. Everyone was shocked. Reg's eyes also narrowed slightly. Ash stared at Broly. This is the final form of the Super Saiyan. Green hair. His son Wukong looked solemn. Isn't the yellow-green hair just now the limit? Have these two just used their full strength in the fight till now? Vegeta's face looked grim, and he no longer had his usual calmness at this moment. Today was really a blow. Thinking about how he used to talk about his princely bloodline, he couldn't help but find it ridiculous. Prince bloodline? What a piece of garbage. Look at the two in front. That's what we call the high-level Saiyan bloodline. Glancing at Vegeta, Ash said slowly, Reg's bloodline only existed in ancient times, and Broly's is a legendary super that only appears once in 1,000 years. Ancient bloodline? Son Wukong exclaimed. Ash nodded. By the way, Reg's bloodline is the ancient Saiyans. The two fell silent. Sun Wukong looked up, stared at the two of them, and asked Ashley, who do you think will win? Vegeta also cast his gaze over. Beerus also looked over. He also wanted to know who Ash supported. After Ash looked at Reg and Broly, she said decisively, Reg. Broly's current combat capability is at most at the lower to middle level of Ryo. Reg has reached the upper level. At this number, it is actually very difficult to improve. A difference of a few hundred is like the difference between heaven and earth. 117 Sun Wukong asked in confusion, why? Ash smiled and said, the boost from Super Saiyan 5 is so huge that you can't even imagine. It's completely different from the previous Super Saiyan 4. Sun Wukong seemed to be lost in thought. Can we become Super 5? Sun Wukong looked at Ash and asked the biggest question in his mind. The words fell. Vegeta couldn't help but stare at Ash, his expression slightly nervous. Ash thought for a moment and said, it's very difficult, but it's possible. However, due to your bloodline, maintaining Super Saiyan 5 is extremely difficult. As she spoke, Ash slowly looked at Reg. Because of Reg's bloodline, he doesn't feel any discomfort in Super Saiyan 5. But if you and Vegeta wanted to change, it might require a lot of requirements and you would face various challenges. The two fell silent. But the next breath, Sun Wukong looked up and grinned. Don't be afraid. I can actually transform, so here I go. Super Saiyan 5, I must surpass it. Page 92. Sun Wukong looked determined and had a clear goal. Aside, Vegeta, who was still immersed in the struggle, suddenly looked up. Vegeta looked at Son Goku in shock. Kakarot. Haha, just kidding, but I'll try my best. Sun Wukong scratched his head and smiled, saying half-jokingly. Ash glanced at Sun Wukong, and judging from his expression, he wasn't joking. Ash smiled. You are worthy of being like this. You are not afraid of challenges at all, but instead face them head-on. With this determination, it won't be difficult to surpass anyone. Ash thought. Vegeta snorted coldly. It's not that he didn't dare to think about this idea. He dared to think about it, but it was a bit unrealistic. Therefore, we should implement the first goal and improve our normal combat effectiveness. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying shock wave in the sky spread wildly in all directions like ripples. An extremely terrifying aura came overwhelmingly and oppressively. Everyone looked at it. At this moment, the battle between the two has reached a fever pitch. P.S. Please give me some money. Please. Chapter 73. Broly loses. Super Saiyan 5 crushes the opponent. Please subscribe. Ha. Broly roared, his mouth wide open, and suddenly a powerful green energy gathered out of his mouth, forming an extremely terrifying column-shaped energy wave. Attack Reg. See this scene. Reg didn't even blink as a silver-white energy condensed in his hand. This shockwave contained terrifying energy that was shocking and terrifying. Reg raised his hand and struck without hesitation. Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. The two energy waves collided violently. In an instant, two terrifying energies, one green and one silver, collided and erupted with a tremendous shock wave at the center. The shock wave spread rapidly in all directions. Wipe out the entire destroyer God realm. All the surrounding planets were not spared. They trembled violently and suddenly exploded. Beerus's face turned pale. My home. Son Goku and Vegeta looked solemn as they struggled to resist the shock wave. In the sky, Broly's energy was still being output as if it was free, as if he wanted to annihilate the opponent's energy bomb. But Reg sneered and suddenly used 3% of his energy next interest. The silver-white column of energy, with overwhelming force, instantly disintegrated and swallowed Broly's mortar cannon. Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. The energy wave hit Broly fiercely. A deafening explosion resounded through the sky, and thick smoke spread out from around him. Reg stared into the smoke. Defeated? But the next moment, suddenly a roaring figure broke through the smoke. Green flames burst out from his body and rushed straight towards Reg. Reg's expression changed slightly and his eyes narrowed. This was the most perverted person he had seen today. If it hadn't exceeded 5, it might have really fallen here. Reg's expression gradually turned cold. It's time to end. He hadn't forgotten his purpose and had been fighting Broly for so long that he was almost obsessed. Reg shot out, charging towards Broly with all his might. Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. A dull thud echoed through the sky as Reg's fist rammed deep into Broly's stomach. He didn't hold back at all in this punch. Broly's pupils shrank and he almost couldn't recover. Then, Reg unleashed several more powerful blows, each one like raindrops, landing harshly on every inch of Broly's skin. Broly's face was grim and he was in so much pain that he doubted his life. Although he is almost not afraid of pain in this form, who wouldn't feel pain when he is crushed by pure strength? Big Bang attack. Before Broly could recover from his shock after a series of punches, Reg clasped his hands together and shouted. Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. In an instant, a powerful silver-white energy gathered from his hands and suddenly hit Bro. The energy wave hit Broly, as if to devour him in just a moment. Broly's pupils suddenly shrank and he regained consciousness. Ash said slowly, "It's over." The words just fell. I saw a disheveled figure falling from the sky, hitting the ground hard, and falling into a coma. Broly lay on the ground, his eyes closed, his breath weak, his body covered with scars. Broly. Sun Wukong shouted and flew out quickly. Seeing this, Gogeta hurriedly followed in situ. Beerus said slowly, "It's finally over." Wise looked at Beerus and smiled. "Lord Beerus, I will restore the god of destruction right now." After saying that, Weiss took the scepter, swung it around, and tapped the ground lightly. Boom, boom! A mysterious aura emerged from the scepter. The next moment, the originally devastated Earth began to gradually recover and became intact, just like it was at the beginning. Seeing the scene, Beerus' expression eased slightly. Beerus said calmly, "Reg's strength is still very strong. If he continues to practice at this rate, within a few months, he will be able to firmly step into the level of a god of destruction." Destroyer level. Ash smiled. He naturally understood what Beerus meant by the level of the god of destruction. It's the digital gap. Once you reach this level, you are basically on par with the god of destruction, because all the gods of destruction are at this level. Ash nodded, but it's quite difficult. He must at least increase his normal combat power by 10 times or even 100 times. Sky. Reg looked arrogant and extremely happy. This feeling of being invincible was really refreshing. He looked at Sun Wukong and the other two below and was about to speak. But he suddenly seemed to realize something and turned around to look in one direction. After seeing the figure clearly, Reg's pupils shrank. Ash! Why is he here? Reg's face turned grim, and his happy mood was instantly wiped out. Come on, with him here, there's no way I can get revenge. Ash also noticed that Reg was looking at him. Ash looked up and smiled faintly. See you again. Reg nodded, his face changing from gloomy to bright. After pondering for a moment, he slowly flew downwards. Sun Wukong and the other two looked at Reg solemnly as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Reg's expression was complicated, and he slowly looked at Vegeta, this time with Beerus and Ash here. I won't kill you. Hearing this, Vegeta's face turned ashen and extremely ugly. What do you mean? Does this mean that you have to rely on others to survive? Vegeta stared at Reg with an ugly look on his face. If you want to kill me, just come on. I don't need anyone's charity to survive. Goku and Broly looked at Vegeta worriedly. Reg ignored Vegeta and said to himself, I lost to Ash last time but he didn't kill me, so I'll give you this chance this time too. As he said this, he glanced at Vegeta one last time and said, next time, if you can survive me, our scores will be settled. After saying that, Reg glanced at Beerus and Ash Djiao not far away, and his figure slowly disappeared. Teleport. In situ. The three of them breathed a sigh of relief. Sun Wukong asked in confusion, he just said that he lost to Ash last time? Broly nodded, yes. Vegeta said nothing, his face gloomy. He actually relies on others to survive. The other party was obviously giving face to Ash, so she didn't get entangled. Vegeta's face turned pale, and he said in a deep voice, next time, I will definitely surpass you. Chapter 74. The other side is angry. Weiss laughed, he's gone. Beerus crossed his arms and snorted, who knew he and Vegeta had a grudge. It's outrageous that they can stay together. Ash smiled and said he will come back. With this big mountain of his own as his support, Reg will definitely come back. As a Saiyan, Reg still has the self-respect he deserves. P.S. Please give me some money and votes. Exclamation, 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 exclamation. Chapter 74. Jai Zaiba fights in the ring. Subscribe. The battle came to an end, and Sun Wukong and the other two slowly moved towards Ash and the others. Ash, what are your plans this time? Beerus looked at Ash and asked. Weiss also looked at Ash and smiled. Sister, I think there are still many things I can teach you, right? Weiss was also a little confused. With Bardos's guidance he should be able to teach Ash a lot more, so why is he back now? Sun Wukong stepped forward and looked at the three people in confusion. What do you mean? Ash smiled and said, I went to the 6th universe to practice. Sun Wukong was surprised. The 6th universe. He only heard Gohan say that Ash went out, but he didn't know where he went. What the hell is the 6th universe? Vegeta couldn't help but look over, confused. Ash explained, there are currently 12 universes, and we're in Universe 7. Every universe has its own god of destruction and angels. I went to Universe 6 to train with the angel Bardos. Son Goku and Vegeta suddenly realized, there are actually 12 universes. Sun Wukong narrowed his eyes slightly, a gleam of light flashing in his pupils, so there are still many masters in the universe. Ash nodded, yes. A lot of. As for Jiren, he is definitely one of the ceilings of humankind. After receiving a positive answer, Sun Wukong looked surprised and said, I see. I really want to compete with them. Beerus crossed his arms and snorted coldly, Goku, you'd better stop fantasizing. Wait until you surpass the people around you first, then talk about other universes. Sun Wukong scratched his head and said, Lord Beerus, your words are so hurtful. Beerus sneered. just telling the truth. 117 Gogeta gritted his teeth and said, "Why are you pretending?" But he really had no choice, the other party just had the ability to pretend. Back to the beginning of the topic. Beerus looked at Ash again. "So why did you come back so suddenly?" Ash rolled his eyes. "Can't I come back to my home?" Beerus was startled, then smiled awkwardly and said, "You can come back, I'm just a little curious, is the training time so short?" Beerus said, looking at Son Goku and Vegeta, "They both want to stay here with me." Son Goku, Vegeta. Ash shook his head, "No." Then he smiled and said, "Actually, I did come back for something." Beerus asked, "What is it?" Ash's lips curled up slightly as she smiled. "I want you to find Zyamba and invite him to a martial arts competition with us." Martial arts competition. That's right. He really wanted to hold the martial arts competition in advance because this might be a way to lure out the Omni-King. At the moment, he really doesn't know how to get close to the Omni-King and let the Omni-King hold the tournament of power. So I can only follow the direction of the original work. As Ash finished speaking, Sun Wukong suddenly rushed forward. "Martial arts competition?" Sun Wukong looked excited. "What do you mean?" Beerus glanced at Son Goku with a headache. "How many times have I told you? Don't be so impatient." Son Goku scratched his head, slowly backed away, and said sincerely, "I know I was wrong, Lord Beerus." Beerus nodded and looked at Ash. "What do you mean? Why do you suddenly want to invite him to a martial arts competition?" Ash laughed and said, "Don't you see BFE want to smack Zyamba in the face? Wouldn't it be nice to hold a martial arts tournament and beat him up? Torture Zyamba again?" Beerus was stunned for a moment, then began to think seriously. "It seems true. Can we give it a try?" Beerus looked slightly delighted. If he could suppress Champa, he would do it in vain. But the problem is coming. Beerus looked at Ash and paused. Will he agree? There are more masters on my side than the last. Will Zyamba really agree? Ash said slowly, "Don't worry about this problem. Hasn't he been looking for the Super Dragon Balls recently? Tell him to stop looking. Whether we win or lose, all the remaining Super Dragon Balls will be given to him." Super Dragon Ball? Give it all to Zyamba? Beerus was stunned, looking dissatisfied. How can this be possible? Isn't this a free ride for Zyamba? Ash thought about it and realized that it was true. Giving it directly to Zyamba would be too cheap for him. After a moment's hesitation, Ash looked at Beerus and said, "How about you try provoking him?" Beerus's mouth twitched slightly. "Provocation? Have you figured this out?" Ash nodded. "Yes, a guy like Pana is so vain. You just need to catch him and provoke him." Beerus mused. "That makes sense. Okay, let's do it." After getting a positive answer, only then did Ash reveal a smile. Beerus suddenly asked again, "Have you decided how many people will fight?" Ash thought for a moment and said, "5 people." Beerus nodded. "Okay, I'll go find him soon." After receiving Beerus's affirmative answer, Ash smiled. Sun Wukong walked forward excitedly, looked at Ash, and asked, "Ash, have you decided which 5 people to choose?" Vegeta also looked over nervously. Vegeta must not miss out on such matters. Ash thought for a moment. "You, Vegeta, Gohan, Broly, and me." When they heard their names on the list, both Goku and Vegeta showed joy on their faces. That's it. In this kind of competition, we must not leave them behind aside. Broly's expression didn't change much. This match, no matter what, it was a must-win game. Beerus suddenly said, "Isn't your name Reg?" Ash said helplessly, "Doesn't Reg have a grudge against Vegeta?" "Let's wait until they resolve their grudge." Beerus nodded. "Okay." He didn't hold out much hope. It's simply a pipe dream for Vegeta to surpass Reg. As for resolving the hatred, that will take forever. Vegeta snorted coldly. He didn't want to compete with Reg either. After explaining the purpose of this trip, Ash smiled and said, "Then I'll go back first. If Zyamba agrees, remember to let me know." Beerus nodded aside. Son Goku and Vegeta looked at each other. Sun Wukong also smiled and said, Lord Beerus, let's go back first. Beerus was stunned and looked at the three people. You want to go back too? Sun Wukong nodded, yes. Beerus was stunned. Could it be that what he just said irritated those people? Does he think Sun Wukong is not that fragile? Sun Goku smiled and said, Lord Beerus, we are just going back to train for a while. After all, we are going to compete, right? Beerus hesitated for a moment and then nodded, okay. He didn't ask why they didn't practice on Planet Destroyer. Sun Wukong and the others were not stupid. They would not ignore Wise's teachings and go to Earth to practice on their own. Maybe there's something good about the Earth. He paused for a moment. Only Beerus and Wise were left there, looking at the empty world of destruction. Beerus sighed and returned to the quiet moment. Page 94. This is the first time there have been so many people. Beerus looked at Wise and whispered, let's go, Wise. Wise nodded slightly, a smile on his face. Okay, Lord Beerus. Earth. Ash said goodbye to Sun Wukong and the other two and headed straight towards Sidu. I've been out for a long time, so I came back to see my woman. The fields cannot remain dry for too long, they need irrigation. The other side. Sun Wukong and his two companions arrived at the heavenly temple. Sun Wukong was holding a box of universal capsules, which contained a gravity chamber, a gravity bracelet, food, and more. Without hesitation, he went straight to the Spirit Time House. On the road, Son Goku and Vegeta introduced the Spirit Time Chamber to Broly and asked him if he wanted to go in with him. Broly thought about it and nodded in agreement. He also wants to become stronger. Not long after, the three of them stepped into the Spirit Time room together. 5 days passed in a flash this day. Beerus finally arrived. After Ash learned of the other party's arrival, she immediately went to where the two were and gathered together. Ash smiled and looked at the two people opposite him. How is it? Did Saiyanpa agree? Beerus smiled faintly and nodded slightly. Of course, I just provoked him a little bit, and this kid couldn't stand it anymore. He started to quarrel and wanted to fight. But he told me that he couldn't let you go, because it wouldn't be fair. Ash raised an eyebrow. So what do you say? Beerus said, I didn't agree, but Champa insisted. I ignored him. Beerus paused and continued, I thought about it and came back to ask you what you think. But I don't know what happened later. Before I could find you, he came to me and agreed very readily. Wise also nodded and smiled. Yes, Lord Champa was very stubborn at first, and refused to agree with Lord Beerus no matter what he said, but after returning, he became very straightforward. When they met the next day, Ash narrowed her eyes, went back, and when she came back she agreed very readily. This is strange no matter how you look at it. Ash said slowly, does he have any hidden cards? Trump card. This is the only possibility. Beerus shook his head, his tone doubtful. I think so too, but I'm not sure. Ash pondered for a moment and smiled. Forget it, don't think too much. No matter where he gathers people, it's useless. After saying that, Ash looked at Beerus again and asked, when does the competition start? Tomorrow. Ash nodded. Tomorrow, right? P.S. Please give me some money. Chapter 75. The prototype of the beast form subscription request. It's time to prepare well. After Beerus finished explaining the matters concerning the arena match, he did not stay long. After taking a bunch of delicious food, he said goodbye to Ash. Embarking on the road back to Planet Destroyer in Sidu, Ash stood alone. After pondering for a moment, Ash's figure slowly disappeared. Kaishin Realm. Swish. A figure appeared here out of nowhere. The person who came was Ash. Not far ahead, under the grassland next to a big tree, several figures are gathering here. It was none other than King Kaishin, Jepital, Old King Kai, and Son Gohan. Old Kai was unlocked by Ash some time ago. After all, it was because of himself. King Kai Shin didn't invite Gohan to the Holy Land, let alone draw his sword. The purpose of releasing old Kai is very simple. He has profound knowledge and understands many things that ordinary people don't understand. His knowledge level is extremely broad. In some specific areas of knowledge, he is far superior to the god of destruction and is not inferior to the angels. Sometimes if you don't understand something, you can ask him. Remember that Son Gohan has a very super form, beast form. This form can be said to be Son Gohan's strongest form. His temperament and appearance are not inferior to Zizai, and his strength is also very high, and he is the only one who has taken this alternative path. Ash remembered that in the original work, Son Gohan seemed to have abandoned martial arts for a long time. Even so, he can still awaken the beast form in anger, and his combat power is comparable to Zizikong, which shows that he is extraordinary. Just talking about his increase, it is absolutely unimaginable. It is unimaginable how outrageous it is to be able to enhance a person who has not practiced for many years and whose normal combat power is low and poor to a level comparable to Sun Wukong, who has practiced intensively for many years and has mastered his emotions. So, Ash wanted Gohan to find that feeling and evolve into beast form. Of course, if you want to evolve into a beast form, the mysterious form is essential. Son Gohan's beast form is based on the mysterious form, which is transformed by surpassing the limit and stimulating potential again. For this reason, I have no choice but to ask old Kai for help. Similarly, he also wanted to try this form, and a few days ago he asked old Kai to develop its potential. You won't know this until you develop it, and you'll be shocked once you do. Even old Kai was exhausted to death, but Ash's talent is still not fully developed. This is enough to show how outrageous Ash's talent is. I can still vividly remember old Kai's expression of doubt about life. Are you a pervert? There's absolutely no limit to what you can explore. Ash didn't make things difficult for him and ended the development early. The mysterious form that was done in a hurry is not weak for Ash. The strength has reached at least Super 4 level. In front. When Son Gohan saw the person coming, his expression lit up and he quickly ran up. Master. Why are you here? Ash withdrew his thoughts, looked at Son Gohan, and smiled. Nothing, just came to see how your training is going. Aside. When old Kai saw who was coming, his eyelids twitched violently. It's this plague god again. He was scared. I didn't drive him crazy, but developing his potential almost cost him his life. King of the gods Shin and Jupiter also hurried over. They have always had a good impression of Ash, from the time when they set Majin Buu free to the time when they released their ancestors. What is not worth being grateful for? King of the gods Shin trotted over, looked at Ash and smiled. Ash, we meet again. Okay. Ash nodded and looked at Son Gohan. What do you say? How's your training going? Son Gohan said with a serious expression. Master, I have mastered the mystical form. If nothing goes wrong, I will be able to complete the full power mode soon. Ash frowned slightly and shook her head. No, there's no need. There's no need to look for full power in the mystic form. This form doesn't have full power, or it wouldn't be important if it did. You should get used to treating him as normal and take the long view. This is your potential. It's completely different from being a Super Saiyan. From another perspective, this might not be normal. Son Gohan was stunned for a moment, then lowered his head in thought. Are you used to seeing him as normal? Son Gohan hadn't really thought of this. He had always considered it a realm of Super Saiyan, and understood it from that perspective, but now it seems that it's not the case. At this time, old Kai slowly walked over, with his hands behind his back, and looked at Son Gohan. What Ash said is indeed correct. This mysterious form cannot be viewed from your Saiyan perspective. Old Kai narrowed his eyes slightly. It should be said that this is a state of potential being released. Son Gohan was silent aside. Kaishin scratched his head and asked in confusion, Old Ancestor, is there any difference? Jebit couldn't help but nod. Yes, it's just a change of name. What's the difference? Old King Kai, Old Kai glared at the two of them with a look of dismay, snorted coldly and said slowly, "If you say he is a form, then he will always be able to increase his power like a super saiyan with an unchanging amplification. But if he is in good shape, why can't he unleash his potential again in this state? After all, for some people, potential has no limit." These words will obviously have different consequences when heard by different people. King Kai Shin and Jupiter were still confused, while Son Gohan seemed to be thinking about something. Page 95. As for Ash, she looked at old Kai with approval. As expected, I lived up to my promise and unlocked him. Old Kai was right. Mysterious form should be used as an additional state. Similarly, in this state, you can add the unique attribute of Saiyan's anger. Through anger, with the existing potential released, another breakthrough is achieved, and then the potential is released again. This is the beast form. Ash glanced at Son Gohan and said slowly, "Old Kai is right, Gohan. Your potential is extremely strong, not just ordinary. So you can release your potential and use it as a state. If that's the case, why can't you surpass yourself once again? Request flowers when a Saiyan is angry. He will be inspired to take on new form, so when you are angry, you can also break through your potential once again. Can you understand what I'm saying?" Son Gohan pondered for a moment, then took a deep breath and said with understanding on his face, "Master, I understand." There was a hint of excitement on Son Gohan's face. He knew this was a good opportunity. This is a completely new track that his master taught him to walk on. It's not some divine power, it's Super Saiyan. It's a completely different track. But Son Gohan seemed to have thought of something and said thoughtfully, "Master, I'm a little worried." Ash looked at Son Gohan. "You say?" Son Gohan said solemnly, "Exactly. My route consumes my potential. Will there ever be a day when my potential reaches its limit?" Potential reached its limit. This is a problem he is worried about. What if the potential is capped? Wouldn't that mean it won't work? Ash shook her head and smiled. "Don't worry about that at all. I've told you before that for some people, potential has no upper limit. This can definitely be said of you, Sun Wufan." Son Gohan scratched his head, looking a little embarrassed. Maybe the master thinks too highly of him. In terms of potential alone, he believed that the master in front of him was much better than him. After all, he was there to witness the master's potential being unleashed. He tortured old Kai almost to death. After pondering for a moment, Son Gohan nodded seriously. "I understand, master. I will work hard." "Ah." Ash nodded and smiled. "There's no need to rush this matter. It depends on Gohan himself." Ash turned and continued, "I came here for another thing." Son Gohan asked confusedly, "What's going on?" Ash said slowly, "The tournament between Universe 6 and Universe 7 will be held tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Son Gohan exclaimed. Ash nodded, "Yes." "So fast?" Son Gohan looked a little nervous. He was not ready yet. What if the opponent is extremely strong? Ash looked at the three old Kais and continued, "Do you want to go and watch? You can go as special guests." Hear the words. The three of them were stunned. After thinking for a moment, old Kai nodded and said slowly, "Yes, this is such an interesting scene. I want to go and watch it." When Shin and Jebit heard that old Kai was also going, they quickly said, "Then we'll go too." Old Kai glanced at the two of them and said, "Fensitter, what do you do when I do it?" "No opinion of my own." Two people. Shin Kai scratched his head in embarrassment, not daring to refute the old Shin Kai. Ash smiled and said, "In that case, I'll be leaving first. Just follow Gohan to Earth to find me." The three nodded. Swish! Ash's figure slowly disappeared from the spot. "P.S. Please give me some money." Guang. Chapter 76, 5 Years of Training. Subscribe. Temple of Heaven. A figure slowly appeared, and it was Ash. After Ash came out of the god realm of the King of Gods, she rushed here without stopping. Remember that the last breath of Sun Wukong and the other two disappeared here. If nothing unexpected happens, the three of them must have been training in there for 5 whole years! Ash felt a little embarrassed. 5 years. What is this concept? A person does not eat, drink, or move. He won't feel hungry or tired, so let him play games. Play games all the time, for 5 years. Can anyone bear it? It's going to be crazy, not to mention that this is still cultivation. Ash no longer dared to think about it. How crazy would it be if those three came out? Is it necessary to work so hard? Ash was a little impressed by the willpower of Sun Wukong and the other two. At this time, two figures trotted over. Dandy and Bobo. Dandy looked at Ash a little reserved and said respectfully, "Hello, mister." Ash. Bobo also said slowly, "Hello, mister." Ashley. Ash looked at the 117 and smiled, "Hello." I saw that the other person looked very friendly. Dandy finally breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that they get along well. He was also afraid that Ash's personality would be like Vegeta's. Dandy asked tentatively, "Mr. Ashley, what brings you to the Temple of the Gods?" Ash nodded. "I'll go find Sun Wukong and the others." Dandy suddenly understood and said quickly, "I understand. Come with me on the road." Dandy said wordly, "I changed the limit on the number of days the spirit time room can be used. But they don't seem to have enough self-control. They've been staying in there for too long. I don't know if there will be any problems." Ash smiled and said, "Don't be afraid, I'll go and take a look." Dandy breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Ash. "Then I'll leave it to you, mister." Ash. After saying that, Dandy paused, pointed at the gate in front and said slowly, "This is it." Ash nodded, slowly pushed the door open, and stepped in. Dandy breathed a sigh of relief, his expression slightly worried. "I don't know what's going on inside." Bobo said in a gentle tone, "Don't worry, Lord God. Nothing will happen to them, they are just practicing." Dandy pondered for a moment, nodded, and said, "Indeed. Then I'll go make a meal first, mister. Wukong will definitely shout that he's hungry when he comes out." Bobo quickly said, "There's no need for you to do this, Lord God. Let Bobo do it." "Bobo will do it." Spiritual time room. As soon as Ash stepped in, what caught her eyes was a blank, endless white. Gravity suddenly increased tenfold. Oxygen turbidity concentration is low. Judging from the environment alone, it is indeed very suitable for cultivation. Ash looked around. Where was the person? There's no sign of anyone nearby. Ash looked at the sofa beside him. If it weren't for some daily necessities, he would have suspected that the three people were missing. Ash took a step forward and instantly arrived hundreds of kilometers ahead. There was no one there. Ash pondered, "Where are the people?" Ash took a deep breath and released it completely. Page 96. Call out. In an instant, a powerful energy was released from his body, instantly spreading over an area of millions of kilometers, tens of millions of kilometers. Ash opened her eyes and found it. Swish. Teleport at the same time. In a certain space, three figures are engaged in a fierce battle, and the sky is filled with a terrifying atmosphere. Astonishing fighting power permeated the entire space. The incomparably powerful and vigorous energy spread out here all over the place. The three people are Son Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. Then, the three men were covered in beads of sweat, and their shirts had already torn. There are scars all over the body. They all hit each other desperately. Then, Son Goku instantly moved in front of Vegeta and punched Vegeta in the stomach with all his strength. Before he could continue attacking, he was slammed to the ground by the roaring Broly. Boom! Exclamation! After knocking Son Goku away, Broly didn't stop. He grabbed Vegeta's head and smashed it hard towards Son Goku below. Son Goku and Vegeta collided violently, making a loud roar. But the next moment, the two of them suddenly disappeared. Instantly came to Broly's back, one on the left and one on the right, a Hakamhaha wave. Final flash. The two men shouted at the same time and suddenly released their strongest moves. In an instant, the terrifying aura tore through time and space and roared towards Broly. Broly turned his head suddenly, his face was ferocious, and his mouth slowly opened. Ha! A green light suddenly appeared in his mouth, majestic and violent, and an energy bomb with boundless pressure condensed out. Muzzle cannon. The terrifying surge of energy crashed into the energy of the two people in front. The three of them looked ferocious. This is obviously a brawl. Just when the three energy bombs were about to touch swish, a figure appeared out of thin air. The person who came was Ash. Call out. The moment she arrived here, Ash's expression suddenly changed. 10,000 times the force of gravity. What the hell? Ash had experienced this kind of gravity when she was taught by Bardos, so she was naturally familiar with it. However, now is clearly not the time to worry about gravity. Three terrifying energies are coming towards him. And it was only millimeters away from Ash. Sun Wukong and the other two who released the energy also noticed something in an instant. But it was too late to retract the attack. Destroy. Just as he was about to touch Ash, a cold voice was heard. Thus, instantly, a faint purple aura emanated from Ash's body, and an endless destructive force suddenly filled the air. In just a moment, the three attacking energies were turned into ashes and annihilated. In situ, Ash looked puzzled. These three energy waves were not weak and almost hit him. If I hadn't reacted quickly and used my destructive power in time, I might have been hit. Although it doesn't hurt when I get hit, I still get hit. He didn't want to get covered in dust for no reason. Ash couldn't help but look at the three of them. The three of them are now at normal combat strength. But their strength has undergone earth-shaking changes. Much stronger than when I first came in. But it is not clear how strong it is, so let's wait and see the results tomorrow. Ash looked at the three of them and asked, "You two have been practicing like this for 5 years?" When the three saw Ash, they immediately stopped what they were doing and slowly flew over. Sun Wukong took a deep breath. "Ash, why is it you? You scared me. I almost hit you." Gogeta came over. "Has it been 5 years?" Gogeta looked at Ash and replied, "It can be considered as cultivating your combat power while cultivating your mind. After all, no one can stand constant training." Ash nodded. "That's right." Broly's expression remained unchanged, his eyes slightly narrowed. He was so strong, but he didn't expect that Ash could resolve the sudden attack in time. It seems that Ash is still very strong. Ash nodded. 5 days outside, 5 years inside. You have been training for 5 years. The three of them were stunned. During this period of time, I have been practicing day and night just to become stronger. Now there are finally some results. Sun Wukong looked at Ash, eager to try. Ash 5.4, since you're here, how about we have a fight? Ash shook her head. I want to fight Universe 6 tomorrow. Sun Wukong was stunned for a moment, then seemed to have thought of something and said in surprise, "The competition is about to start." Ash nodded. "Yes." Sun Wukong looked excited. "Great, I've been wanting to go out and try it for a long time." Gogeta stared at Ash. "Ash, how strong are you?" Ash thought for a moment and said, "Not sure." 3 people, uncertain? What does it mean? Ash smiled and said, "There's no need to compare yourself with me. You'll feel hopeless if you do." The three of them were silent. "It seems like it hits them a bit," Ash added, "but I can tell you that you are already very close to me." The three of them breathed a sigh of relief. Ash looked around, somewhat puzzled. What's going on with the space here? How did it become 10,000 times larger? P.S. Please give me some money. Chapter 77, The Eve of the Competition. Subscribe. Ash was puzzled. Hasn't the spirit time chamber always had 10 times the gravity? How did it become 1 times? Sun Wukong said with a serious expression. Actually, we didn't notice this thing when we first came in. Come to think of it, I discovered it one day when I was bored. Ash raised an eyebrow. Bored? Gogeta stepped forward. glanced at Son Goku, and said slowly, "That idiot Kakarot said he wanted to see how big the spirit time chamber was, and then he ran to a place far away from the entrance and he actually discovered something new." Gogeta looked around with a serious expression. "We found that the further inward we go, the stronger the gravity becomes. The further inward you go, the greater the gravity." Ash frowned slightly. "Is there such a saying?" Ash thought for a moment and then said, "What is the limit? Have you ever explored it? The spiritual time chamber should be infinite. If gravity expands as space expands, then wouldn't it be unlimited?" Sun Wukong shook his head. "The highest we know of so far is only 10 times, and we haven't been to any higher places. It is indeed infinite." Ash narrowed her eyes slightly, which was a bit scary. Ash had a question in her mind. Such a terrifying training place, who invented it? God. It's absolutely impossible. If a god had this ability, why would he still be a small god on Earth? He probably can only interfere. Being able to create a space with infinite size, infinite gravity, and different speeds of time, you can imagine how terrifying it is. This kind of thing, I'm afraid it can only be done by the High Priest, right? After pondering for a moment, Ash shook her head and said, "Forget it. Why bother about this? No matter who created it, as long as it doesn't cause any harm, isn't that enough?" Page 97. Ash looked at the three of them and said, "Come on, get out. You guys stayed too long and made Dandy worried to death." The three nodded. "It's been a while indeed, but it's mainly because of obsession." Sun Wukong was unwilling to be so weak and need others' protection. Gogeta is unwilling to be inferior to others and is determined to challenge Reg to a showdown. Broly came purely to become stronger and to accompany the two of them. These pure goals have led the three of them to practice until now. Spiritual time room. Outside the door, Dandy looked at the door nervously. Why hasn't he come out yet? As soon as he finished speaking, the door of the spirit time house slowly opened. Several figures slowly walked out from there. Dandy quickly looked up with a look of surprise. "Mr. Ashley, and everyone, you finally came out." Dandy breathed a sigh of relief. If he doesn't come out soon, he will be so worried that he will die. The top fighting force on the Earth all disappeared in his place. He cannot bear this crime. But fortunately, that didn't happen. When Sun Wukong saw Dandy, he immediately felt that what he and the others had done was inappropriate. So he said apologetically, "Dandy, I'm so sorry. We were so engrossed in it that we have only been practicing for so long." Dandy quickly shook his head. "No need to apologize. I just hope you will be careful because the spirit time chamber, I don't know too much." Sun Wukong nodded and said seriously, "I understand." Dandy nodded, then asked tentatively, So how's your training going?" 5 years and they're 3 top-tier Saiyans, so they must be invincible, right?" Dandy thought that after all, they were Sun Wu and his 2 companions, and after 5 years of training, they were probably invincible. Sun Wukong thought for a moment and said, "I'm not sure how much stronger I've become. There's a martial arts competition tomorrow. I can go and give it a try." Aside, Vegeta didn't say anything, but his expression was slightly stunned. "How strong is it?" "I really don't know. During this period of time, he has only been committed to improving his normal combat effectiveness and has ignored everything else." "Shouldn't he have reached Reg's level?" "Maybe." Vegeta wasn't sure either. Broly glanced at Ash. "How strong is it?" "He is definitely not as strong as Ash." As for Reg, Broly already feels that he can beat him. Apart from anything else, the shadow of Super Saiyan 5 has now degenerated a bit. This form really caused him a lot of psychological trauma. Just a few punches shattered his dream of being invincible. After some thought, Dandy smiled and said, "With your abilities, tomorrow will definitely be a favorable round. I want to go see it too, but I can't leave Earth." Dandy looked regretful. A martial arts competition between 2 universes. Who wouldn't want to see this? Sun Wukong was speechless. It was he who brought Dandy to Earth. This position really required him to be in the Earth's heavenly temple all the time. Now it seems the other party's range of activities is extremely restricted. Dandy noticed Sun Wukong's expression and realized that his words seemed ambiguous. He quickly said, "It's not that I think this position is bad. I really like being a god on Earth. I don't mean anything else." Sun Wukong scratched his head, looking a little embarrassed. "Dandy, I'm so sorry." Dandy shook his head and said seriously, "Please don't think too much, Mr. Wukong. I just regret that I can't see this scene. I am honored to be a god on Earth." Having said that, Sun Wukong didn't say anything more. He smiled and changed the subject. "Dandy, is there anything to eat? I'm so hungry." Dandy smiled and said, "Mr. Bobo is cooking. It will be ready soon." It looked like the three of them were planning to have a free meal. Ash said slowly, "Let's gather in Zidu tomorrow morning. Beerus and Wise will come to pick us up." "Uh-huh." The three nodded. Ash's figure slowly disappeared and returned home. The next day, Ash was ready and waiting quietly for his woman to come downstairs. Not long after, three beautiful figures slowly walked down. It's worth mentioning that ever since Tacy and Ashy got together, the entire apartment complex where Ashy and the others lived was bought by Tacy. It can be said that all the apartments nearby are now Ash's homes. There are no neighbors. This is the financial strength of Bulma Capsule Corporation. Although Ash could do it himself, he felt it was meaningless. Number 18 came closer, staring at Ash with cold eyes. "Why are you up so early again?" Ash was a little confused. What was the problem? Without hesitation, Ash replied, "I always start at this time." Number 18 snorted coldly. "I don't believe it." Ash was a little confused. "Why don't you believe it?" Number 18 said angrily, "I won't tell you." After saying that, the figure of number 18 walked out first. Ash, looking for trouble, right? At this time, no. 21 came over with a smile. "Hee, are you frustrated?" Ash looked at No. 21 and hugged him. "What happened to No? 18? No." 21's cheeks were slightly red as she leaned quietly in Ash's arms. He whispered, "She must be jealous." Ash was stunned. "Jealous?" "Correct." Ash was completely confused. "Who are you jealous of?" Number 21 shook his head. "I don't know either. Maybe he's jealous of this unknown woman." An unknown woman's jealousy? Where did this unknown woman come from? At this moment, a finger poked Ash's back. "Ties." Tacy came up and said slowly, "Fool, of course it's because of your master." "Master? Bardos?" Ash suddenly realized that she had mentioned Bardos to them. Ash raised her eyebrows slightly. "No. 18, this won't do. We'll be sisters from now on. It must be adjusted properly." Not long after, Bulma Capsule Co. Beerus couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he saw so many idle people. He said that we can bring family members and friends, but he didn't say that we can bring so many people. Have all 9 clans been called here? Beerus looked at Son Goku and said in a deep voice, "Goku, is this just the little bit you mentioned?" Sun Wukong laughed awkwardly and said, "It's indeed a little bit more than 117, more than just a little more." Beerus Brick looked at Wise and asked, "Wise, can you take me down?" Wise carefully counted the number of people and said with a smile, "Of course, Lord Beerus." Beerus nodded. "Okay, let's go." Wise conjured a rectangular shuttle block. Everyone stepped on it with surprise, sighing in amazement and marveling at it. Although there are a lot of people, it doesn't seem crowded for traveling through the cube, and it's even spacious. Everyone was chatting with each other. Yamcha looked excited. "This is the first time I've seen the starry sky up close. I used to only see it from Earth." Krillin, holding the child, sighed. "I did see it once, but it was on the way to fight Frieza. I didn't even have time to appreciate the scenery front." Beerus looked at Son Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. His eyes narrowed slightly. "You've become much stronger." He finally understood why Sun Wukong refused to practice in the realm of destruction gods. Was it because Earth could make them so strong? Son Goku laughed and said, I still can't compare to Lord Beerus. Beerus crossed his arms and said calmly, "Don't compete with me. How many times have I said it? Why don't you listen?" Page 98. Sun Wukong smiled and said nothing. Beerus seemed to have thought of something, and looked at Ash, his tone slightly tense. "Ash, Zhangpa said that he will also have a very strong scion as a backup. You have to pay attention." Exclamation. Ash raised her eyebrows slightly. "Extremely strong scion?" Beerus nodded. "Right, this idiot can't keep secrets. Whenever he has something good to share, he wants to show it off to me. That's what he said the other day." Ash nodded. "I understand. It's quite interesting. Even though I beat him up a while ago, he can still arrogantly say that there will be an extremely powerful scion in charge. I'm sure it won't be weak. Who can that be? Is this the trump card?" Ash narrowed his eyes slightly. "P.S. Please give me some money and votes." Chapter 78. The Mysterious King Sarada. Please subscribe. Son Goku came forward and asked in confusion, "Lord Beerus, what do you mean? Are there Saiyans in Universe 6? Beerus replied, "Yes." Beerus was not interested and didn't want to explain any more to Son Goku. This guy was like a curious baby. He kept asking questions. But at this moment, Vegeta and the others also looked over. Everyone looked at him, all with a thirst for knowledge. Beerus was helpless. Just as he was about to start explaining, he noticed Wise, who was driving above him, laughing. Beerus looked up. "Wise, what are you laughing at?" Wise smiled and said, "Nothing, I just thought of something funny." Beerus rolled his eyes and said impatiently, "Wise, explain it to them." "I won't say any more." Wise nodded. Although he was on top of the teleporting cube, he could still transmit the sound accurately to everyone's ears. "I understand." Lord Beerus. Wise looked at Sun Wukong and the others and said with a smile, "In fact, the relationship between the 6th and 7th universes is similar to that of twins, showing symmetry. For example, some things that exist in the 7th universe also exist in the 6th universe. Things like Earth should also exist in the 6th universe." Everyone suddenly realized, so this is how it is? But the next second, everyone's expression changed again. Weston paused, then continued, "But the Saiyans are different according to the earliest information. The Saiyans of Universe 6 and Universe 7 actually belong to the same lineage." "Belong to the same lineage?" Exclamation. "What?" Vegeta was shocked. "What do you mean?" Wise thought for a moment and said, "It's like this. The early Saiyans were all of the same lineage. They were born bloodthirsty and tyrannical, slaughtering innocent people indiscriminately. They conquered every universe, killing and plundering others. Over time, internal problems arose, and some Saiyans who advocated peace emerged. They overthrew the warlike Saiyans who were mainly engaged in aggression and drove them out." These words naturally shocked everyone. Vegeta was horrified. "So the Saiyans on planet Vegeta were driven out? Are you kidding me?" Exclamation. Ash didn't react much, as he already knew all this stuff. Beerus nodded. "It seems to be the case at the moment." Vegeta gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. Sun Wukong didn't react much, but was a little confused. "So are they stronger or are we stronger?" Weiss smiled and said, "They were all driven out." "What do you think?" "The implication is, not as good as others." Vegeta frowned. "How is that possible?" "Are you kidding me?" Vegeta attaches great importance to the dignity of the Saiyans. How could he accept that the other party is stronger than his own Saiyans? Sun Wukong looked excited. "Really? I can't wait to see them." Weiss nodded slightly. "We're almost there." Call out. The shuttle block suddenly stopped. Boom! Everyone was out of control, lost their center of gravity, and fell forward violently. "Ouch, what are you doing? Why did you stop so suddenly? It hurts so much." Bulma and other ordinary people all smashed together and dissatisfied voices were heard. Weiss didn't care and smiled faintly. "We're here." Ash looked at the planet in front of her with a slightly surprised expression aside. Tacy was surprised. "So beautiful." Ash nodded. Indeed, the planet in front of her was like an ink painting, colorful. Just like because of himself, the Super 4 stars were collected by Zyampa early on, so the chosen competition venue was also changed. Call out. Weiss drove the shuttle cube and slowly stopped it. After landing, what comes into view is a lush grassland plain on one side, and on the plain not far away stands a standard martial arts arena. Everyone walked down the shuttle cube, looked around in amazement, and marveled at the surroundings. Ash looked forward. All of Zympa's people have arrived and are now sitting in the audience waiting. Call out. Two figures slowly flew over. It's Champa and Bardos. Huh? I thought you were too worried and scared to come, you skinny bastard. Champa sees Beerus and opens his mouth. A mocking expression caught Beerus's eyes. Beerus' forehead veins popped out, and he said angrily, "What did you say, fat pig?" Zyampa challenged, "Lululo. Hit me." Beerus clenched his fists. Calm down. Calm down. After suppressing his anger, he said coldly, "You fat pig, I won't bother with you today." Oh. Zyampa raised his eyebrows and said, "Beerus, when did you become a ninja turtle?" Bardos held his forehead with his hand, looking helpless. "Master Zyampa, when will this end? Do you still want to fight?" Zyampa snorted coldly. "Who made this skinny guy provoke me for no reason last time?" Bardos looked at Wise and Beerus, nodded slightly as a greeting, and then looked at Ash with a smile. "Don't you recognize me?" Ash smiled and said, "I know him." "Master." Bardos nodded with satisfaction, then narrowed his eyes and looked at the three figures beside Ash. "My disciple is really not bad." Zyampa is also looking at Ash, and he now has a huge shadow over Ash. However, as if he thought of something, he chuckled. Number 18 gently pinched Ash and leaned close to his ear. "It's best if you're just a master." "No." 21's expression is unnatural. "It's a master-disciple complex." She has the final say. Tacy didn't think too much about it. She had let it go long before she had two sisters. It's okay to have multiple angels as sisters. Beerus said calmly, "Let's go. Let me see if the arena you built is any good." Everyone followed. At the same time, Weiss invited everyone who was watching the game to come to the spectator seats. On the road, Sun Wukong and his companions were whispering about the mysterious Cyan. Ash was walking in front. He had already noticed the so-called trump card Cyan. The other party did not reveal his aura, and what he felt at the moment was very ordinary, not very strong. Ash's expression remained unchanged, but this was naturally just an appearance. How strong it is depends on actual combat. Came to the ring. Beerus looked around and frowned slightly. "Fat pig, are you so frugal? Why build such a small arena? And the auditorium, too. Can you give them some soft seating? You're still using hard seats. Is that how you treat guests? Are you a country bumpkin?" Zyampa looked uneasy and argued. This was built by Bardos. Bardos's pretty face was dissatisfied. "Master Zyampa, you are not right. It is obviously your order. What does it have to do with me?" Beerus sneered. "Admit it, you have no taste." Zyampa said angrily, "Who cares about this or that? Are you going to fight or not?" "Beat," Beerus said coldly. Page 99. Zyampa looked towards the audience on his side, waved his hand, and shouted, "Come down. Call out." 5 figures slowly descended. Ash glanced away. Gabe, Caulifla, Kale, Hit, and a thin man. Ash narrowed his eyes and looked at the man. Characters that do not appear in the original novel. While Ash was looking at the other person was also looking at him. At this time, Zyampa came over with a smile. "Ash, do you know who he is?" Ash looked at Zyampa and said, "Speak." Champa said seriously, "King Sarada." "The King of Salada?" Ash nodded, understanding. Zyampa said mysteriously, "He will definitely surprise you." Ash said calmly, "Can he kill you in 1 second?" Zyampa looked unhappy. "It's pointless to chat like this. Don't you have anything else to say?" Ash shook her head. "If you think he can beat me, then compare yourself to him. Can he kill you instantly? If he can, then he's really strong. To be honest, Ash really couldn't see what King Sarada's strength was. There is no tail. Is it possible to ignore the tail and become Super Saiyan 4 or Super Saiyan 5? Saiyanpa said in a deep voice. He is very strong, I can only tell you done. Saiyanpa then slowly flew back. After both teams had gotten to know each other, Beerus and Champa began their match. The referee looked serious and spoke slowly. Cough cough. Well then, the friendly match between Universe 6 and Universe 7 has officially begun. 5 contestants from each team. After reading the rules, the referee said solemnly, please send one player from each team. Beerus's side. Beerus stroked his chin, thinking. He slowly turned his gaze towards Weiss and asked, Weiss, who do you think we'll send in the first round? Weiss thought for a moment and said seriously, Ash, 5 in a row. Everyone, Ash. Beerus was silent. You're really serious, son? Wukong became anxious. Beerus shook his head and said slowly, Ash is definitely a backup. As for that Saiyan that Pa mentioned, we don't know his background, so it's better to be cautious. Sun Wukong nodded quickly. Yes, there are also 4 Saiyans on the other side. We must not underestimate them. He was really afraid of sending Ash, because then he would have no room to operate. I practiced for 5 years. How can you accept this? After thinking about it, Beerus felt that it would be better to ask everyone's opinions. So he looked at everyone and asked, who wants to go up? Sun Wukong quickly stepped forward. Me. I'll try first. Beerus nodded. Okay, then it's up to you. Son Goku nodded seriously. I will, Lord Beerus. Afterwards, Sun Wukong, with an excited look on his face, fell straight down and landed steadily on the stage opposite. Saiyanpa said in a deep voice, Bardos, who do you think can go up? Bardos glanced at him and said calmly, it's all right. At this time, a figure stood up. Caulifla. Caulifla looked at Saiyanpa, full of fighting spirit. I'll go first. Ever since she was humiliated by Ash last time, she's been training even harder. She's practically lost herself in it, just to be able to surpass Ash. Saiyanpa looked at Caulifla. Can we win? Caulifla stared at Sun Wukong below and said seriously, I can. This weird uncle looks very weak. Saiyanpa said seriously, okay, we must get the first point. Caulifla nodded, of course I'll go all the way to Ash. Call out. The words fell. She jumped straight down. PS. Please give me some money. Chapter 79. Caulifla is defeated with 1 punch. Subscribe. Coming. Goku from Universe 7 versus Caulifla from Universe 6. After the referee's opening remarks, Beerus and Champa simultaneously unleashed an energy bomb, starting the match. Then the competition officially begins. The referee shouted and waved his hand, announcing the start of the game. Beerus's side. Gogeta frowned slightly, carefully sized up the person opposite him, then looked at Beerus. Why are you letting a female Saiyan play? At the same time, he secretly thought in his heart, letting female Saiyans play is fine, but why can't male Saiyans play too? They are all so skinny, like monkeys, short and weak. Beerus snorted coldly. How should I know? They're not ours. Gogeta frowned. It's not that I look down on this female Saiyan, but how could a female Saiyan fight in the past? In his impression, male Saiyans were always responsible for the conquests, while female Saiyans mostly played the role of housewives. Beerus said with uncertainty, maybe he doesn't have any good Saiyans. Ash smiled. He knew why. Last time in the 6th universe, Gale must have left quite an impression on Saiyanpa. Vegeta crossed his arms, maybe below. Son Goku and Caulifla faced each other from a distance. Caulifla looked excited, her eyes full of fighting spirit. Hey, you are a Saiyan too? Son Goku nodded and looked Caulifla over briefly. Then Sun Wukong was puzzled. So weak. Or maybe he's hiding his shortcomings. Sun Wukong thought to himself, this must be it. People nowadays like to hide their abilities. Isn't it the same for me? Caulifla frowned slightly and said in a bad tone, Hey 117, uncle, what's with that expression on your face? Sun Wukong put away his expression, smiled and said, nothing, come on. Afterwards, Sun Wukong assumed a fighting stance, his expression slightly focused, his breath naturally restrained, and his face calm and composed. Seeing this, Caulifla couldn't help but get excited. "That's right, let me see what you're made of. Call out." As soon as she finished speaking, her figure turned into a flash and flew out, rushing straight toward Sun Wukong. In the blink of an eye, she was in front of Sun Wukong and suddenly punched him. Hit Sun Wukong hard in the face. Snapped. Sun Wukong's expression remained unchanged. He raised his hand and easily blocked the opponent's punch, then immediately prepared to punch Caulifla. Boom! Sun Wukong's punch was less powerful, but it was still incredibly fast. At least in Caulifla's eyes. The speed was unpredictable. Caulifla's pupils suddenly contracted, and before she could react, she was hit hard in the face. "Ah!" Caulifla screamed and flew backwards onto the ring. The first round ends. Everyone present was stunned. Ash's sighed. Gogeta's mouth twitched slightly. "Is this guy coming here to make fun of me?" Sun Gohan remained silent. Until just now, he was still worried that the opponent was too strong. What was the result? "Are you here to make people laugh?" But upholding his good character, he still defended the other party, saying maybe he just didn't perform well. Page 100. Gogeta, what a poor performance. Not far away. Everyone sitting on the round cushions specially designed by Weiss was also dumbfounded. Is this the competition between universes? Yamcha didn't understand much. He looked at Sun Wukong and frowned slightly. "Wukong, this guy hit me too hard, didn't he? He didn't even know to give way to the girls." Piccolo's eyelids twitched, and he looked at Yamcha and said in a deep voice, "Although I don't quite understand your relationship between men and women, but what you said is wrong. I can see that Goku's punch just now was not strong enough." Krillin nodded as well. "Exactly. Besides, there's no gender distinction in the competition. Just do it." Hearing everyone refute himself, Yamcha's expression changed slightly. "What are you doing? Doesn't he just want to feel a sense of existence? Is that really necessary?" Opposite. Saiyampa's face was gloomy. He still wanted to kill Ash. It's a life and death game for ants. Saiyanpa was about to start cursing, but then he thought of something and looked at King Sarada, still forcing himself to suppress his anger. "Forget it, I'll just sulk." Bardos smiled softly, then glanced at King Sarada. "This guy really has some skills. Even she has been kept in the dark, and she is hiding very secretly. If she hadn't taken the initiative to find Saiyanpa to sign up a few days ago, she really didn't know that there was such a master in her universe." But Bardos looked at Ash and felt that he was probably not as good as Ash. Feeling someone looking at her, Ash slowly raised her eyes and looked at Bardos. Ash was a little confused but smiled. Seeing this, Bardos couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth and reveal a beautiful smile. Aside. Weiss narrowed his eyes slightly. "Are you two flirting?" The atmosphere was tense and suddenly you two looked at each other and smiled. But Weiss only dared to think about this in his heart and did not dare to say it out loud. Below, the referee was standing next to Caulifla, holding a timer and muttering, 543. Just when I was about to finish reading, Caulifla, who had slept for a while, stood up with difficulty. She waved at the referee and said, "Sapai, I can still fight." She shook her dizzy head and looked at Sun Wukong. His eyes were extremely solemn. First it was Ash and now Sun Wukong. Why are they all so terrifying? Opposite. When Sun Wukong saw the other party finally stand up, he slowly breathed a sigh of relief. Sun Wukong looked a little resentful. "Oh, I should have listened to Weiss earlier. Don't take any battle lightly, and try your best to use your full strength CBFE." And then, he listened. Even though he only listened to half of it, he listened to it after all. He used all the strength he thought he could use to force the other party to use his full strength. He didn't control his power to match the opponent's current aura. This is how he almost killed Caulifla with one punch. Looking at the opponent's miserable condition, Sun Wukong couldn't bear to fight anymore. Sun Wukong hesitated for a moment and then said, "How about you admit defeat?" However, these kind words, when heard by Caulifla, had a completely different meaning. Caulifla's expression turned grim as she stared at Sun Wukong. "What did you say?" Sun Wukong was puzzled but still said, "It will do you no good to continue fighting like this. You should just admit defeat." Caulifla clenched her fists, her face gloomy, and said angrily, "Damn it, boom!" Exclamation, exclamation. Next moment, the arena beneath her feet suddenly began to vibrate violently. An invisible aura emerged from her body. Golden ripples slowly spread out. Call out. The next moment, a layer of golden flames suddenly rose around Caulifla's body. Her aura suddenly surged, and her hair and eyebrows turned golden in an instant. Super Saiyan. Sun Wukong was stunned. Super 1? The expressions of the people present did not change much. After all, they had all seen it before. Zhang Pa was just relieved. This should have happened a long time ago. "Why did you keep hiding the Super Saiyan?" But he trailed off. Gabe on the side hesitated for a moment and then said, Lord Xianpa, we don't actually know how to become Super Saiyans." "Okay." Xianpa was stunned for a moment, then waved his hand and said indifferently, "No." Stop joking. He had seen Kyre transform with his own eyes. How could it not be? Gabe sighed. He wanted to explain that the Saiyans on Sarada were different from those on the other side. There were almost no Super Saiyans on their planet, but Xianpa didn't listen. At this time, King Sarada suddenly said, "Champa, the Saiyans of our Universe 6 really can't become Super Saiyans." "Okay." Xianpa was stunned and looked at King Sarada, wondering, "Then what did you show me that day?" King Sarada said, "I am an exception, but the Saiyans here really can't transform into Super Saiyans." Xianpa mused, "Forget it, as long as you can change." Caulifla took a deep breath, looking excited. She clenched her fists, feeling the surging power within her body, and said excitedly, "Is this a Super Saiyan?" Then, she couldn't help but look at Sun Wukong and shouted, "Come again. Call out. Say it." She transformed into a flash of lightning and rushed out. Bang. Then, Sun Wukong retreated and blocked the attack, praising him at the same time. "Not bad." Caulifla said excitedly, "Power keeps surging through my body. I'm so excited." Above, Beerus's face turned pale and his fists clenched. Suddenly he shouted at Sun Wukong, "Wukong, how long do you plan to fight? Give me one move to take her." Sun Goku looked dissatisfied. "Lord Beerus, what are you so anxious about? HMPH, if you don't hurry up, don't play in the next round." Beerus shouted coldly. Sun Wukong's expression suddenly changed. "I know." Then, he looked at Caulifla and said slowly, "For me to continue fighting, although I'm sorry you should go down first." Caulifla was stunned and was about to say something, but she saw a huge fist swinging towards her. Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. With a dull thud, Caulifla flew uncontrollably, landing hard outside the ring. Become unconscious elder sister. Kale suppressed his inner restlessness and quickly went down to pick up Caulifla, flying towards the preparation seat above. Xianpa looked unhappy and asked everyone, "Who will go up?" "I come." Kale put Caulifla down and said coldly. Xianpa looked at Kyre and said in a deep voice, "Use all your strength to capture Sun Wukong." Kyre nodded and looked at Sun Wukong with a cold expression. The anger in his eyes was about to turn into tangible power. "PS, please give me some money and votes." Exclamation, 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 exclamation. Chapter 80. Sweeping all the way, Sun Wukong takes down 4 people. Subscribe. Kyre jumped down without hesitation. Alright legends, that's it for today. Like, subscribe, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.